the experience. The experience is there now. The understanding is there. The networking is also there. So I would just say at the moment things are going pretty well. And I'm also a mentor. I have a mentorship class that I run where I teach people how to trade digital assets ranging from crypto, forex, derivatives, stocks, bonds. Generally, the way I trade market is more like from a fundamental perspective, which gives you more or less the advantage or the edge to dive into any of this market, regardless of what kind of market it is. So far as it's a digital market space, and I mean, the assets is on a chart. You can find them on a chart. You would be able to trade them with the kind of concept I actually use to trade the market. So I've been actually keeping my tails on BTC for a while now, from I mean somewhere around 2020 all to 2025 now. Um, I think I dropped some of the videos of my analysis on Bitcoin from when it was sitting at 23,000 all the way to now. So we've been doing our best to see how best we track this giant crypto in the crypto space. So of late too, I've also been really getting a lot of how would I say it? A lot of good follow-ups with Bitcoin and what it has been doing currently. And it has really been playing out the way I've been anticipating it this past months, especially from 2023 down to 2025. So I would just want to do a quick roundup on that. So I
And
guess
Joseph,
everybody,
is your camera working by any chance? It'd be great to see you.
yes, I have a driver issue. I just realized that because I hadn't used my camera, that's the truth. I was just trying to work on the Zoom today, and I noticed it kept telling me my camera is disabled. I went to check it, and it says I need to install some drivers. And I mean, we're already into the meeting, so I think I would have to do that some other time.
Okay.
Sorry about that, though. But it doesn't stop. I'm still gonna deliver what I have to deliver, and I hope you guys are able to catch up quickly. So I'll just go directly into what we're here for. I would like to use another space to just not get rid of my analysis on Bitcoin here. So I'll
Okay.
just
And
look
Joseph,
for
by the
another
way,
tab.
you can take your time. You don't need to go fast because a lot of
Come again?
people. I said you can take your time. You don't need to go fast because a lot of people actually think we're starting in another 40 minutes. So we're
Oh,
probably gonna have people slowly joining us. So
okay, okay. Because I was actually trying to fast track everything because I was thinking I have about only 20 minutes with
no,
you guys.
you got plenty of time.
So, okay,
Just
then
we
thank
had
you
a
for that.
problem
So
with
I'm
the
gonna
time.
just
Yeah.
okay, so I'm gonna take my time and generally walk you guys through everything step by step since we have enough time. So I believe most of us here have a little idea about what technical trading, technical analysis is all about, right? I sh I
You guys
expect,
can
or if
respond in the
not all,
chat
but
if you
at least
like. You want to you respond in the chat. We're watching it there. Edna, if you want to let us know about
okay,
any responses or anything that come in as we're discussing it here.
okay. So generally, I trade market from a technical perspective. More of how I trade the market is it's more of technical analysis. The reason why is because when I started off trading, um, I used to be all about, what's going to make the market move now and jump into it here and there. So I'm literally jumping into the market every now and then, trying to spot quick moves. But along the line, I came to realize, okay, the market has a pattern, and you need to understand the best ways to take advantage of these patterns and how they move and how they operate. So I kind of sliding into technical analysis, and that's where I found my strength. That's where I found my edge and build my strategy. Because now I can analyze the market better and see the market from a different perspective. I'm not disputing or against the fact against fundamental analysis. I actually look into fundamentals as well, because fundamentals has also a lot of effect in the market. and you
We lost your
we
audio for a
cannot
moment there.
definitely ignore it. So I just conclude with this, that two heads are better than yeah.
Joseph, we lost your
Can you hear
audio.
me?
We lost your audio for a moment.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. So what I was saying is with regards to analyzing the market, I've been looking at the market from a different perspective for a while now. Are you guys hearing me clearly now? Let me switch my network if this one is misbehaving.
Yes, I can hear you clearly now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Can everybody else hear him?
Yes. I just switched my network to another one. It's crazy here sometimes in the Gambia, but I mean, I guess I'm clear now.
Is
Is
everybody
everybody
else
here?
hearing Anna, Jacqueline, Mr. T? Are you guys hearing him okay?
Yeah,
Yes, I can hear him. Yeah.
Okay.
you can go ahead.
Okay, great. All right. Yeah, I think you're good now on the audio.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. So what I was saying earlier on was that I have been looking at the market from a different perspective when I started. And later along the line, I came to realize that why not try looking at the market from a technical perspective? Because I've always had this, I mean, story about technical trading is the best here and there. But I'm not disputing that the market is not just moving in. You can't just analyze the market in one way. So more or less, if you have other ways to look at the market, it's just giving you an advantage. So it's more or less like two heads are better than one at the end of the day. So if you have a technical knowledge and you have a fundamental knowledge on analyzing the market, you have a better advantage because now you can find out those loopholes that are causing certain things that you can't understand if you're just a technical trader. And if you also have fundamental knowledge, you can understand why you're seeing some irregularities in the market as a technical trader. You can define why they are happening the way they are happening. So I would say my strength as a trader is I'm more of a technical trader. However, I also factor on certain fundamentals that are very key in terms of analyzing the market because fundamentals has a very strong or has a very significant effect in the market, like it or not, whether you are a technical trader or not. You need to just understand that fundamentals also has its own play in the market. So I've actually come to a point where I work hand in hand with these things. The only thing is that I don't go all out fundamentally like others would in terms of looking for pointing fingers here and there for what market would be doing in the next month, in the next week. But I kind of look at it, especially if it is coming from a high impact or somewhere close to high impact thereabout. I would definitely consider the effect of that impact, and I would know that it would definitely have an effect in the market overall. So I would say for me, looking at the market from a technical perspective and also from a fundamental perspective gives you an edge and gives you leverage in the market so that you don't just do things blindly and things don't take you unaware. So that is more of how I look at the market. So at this point, I mean, another thing too that I would say is I don't actually go out there looking for too much information fundamentally. So I just stick to key things. And one of the ways I track the US, the movement of BTC is I just look at it from this perspective that every pair in the every asset in the market that is tradable is traded with another asset. So if sometimes I'm not able to like track the fundamentals about a particular asset, I try to look at how best I can track the opposite asset next to it. And if you look at crypto in general, the US dollar is most likely one of the pairs you would always have paired to one of those cryptos out there, whether it's new or it's been there for long. So I always like to have my eyes on the dollar index itself, because at the end of the day, if you know what's happening to the dollar, it's more or less like you know what's happening to the rest of the currencies out there, especially if it is a dollar pair. So the dollar index is always in my eyes. I'm always looking at the dollar index, trying to know it's doing. So it's obvious if one pair is falling, the other one is rising at the end of the day. So for me, if dollar is falling, that's obvious that Bitcoin is rising. Sometimes you might have some kind of correlation with other currencies that would kind of have an effect in the movement of the market. But overall, when everything settles down, market would definitely go on its regular or uniform way of moving. So there could be noise here and there, but at the end of the day, if you're patient enough to wait for that noise to step out, you would see clearly what the market eventually will do. So that's generally how I look at the market. So going down to trading Bitcoin itself, which is one of the crypto giants out there that is doing wonders. I mean, if you look at how Bitcoin started and what it is doing now, you can tell that, I mean, Bitcoin is just wonders. It's just doing wonders because, I mean, myself, I've heard what Bitcoin could do, but I mean, seeing it is a completely different thing. Seeing how Bitcoin stood out among all cryptocurrencies and doing what it is doing now, I mean, we have no idea how far this would go, but we just know that, I mean, we should expect more from Bitcoin, and there is no end to where it could go. And if you look at the direction of Bitcoin right now, it's just going up and up and up. Every other thing you are seeing that is looking as if Bitcoin is losing momentum or Bitcoin is falling is just a correction for another move to the upside. And I mean, if you look at my chart, and this is a monthly chart. This is showing you how Bitcoin has been moving. And if you look carefully, I mean, from the layers, you can clearly see that, I mean, it's just from one layer to another. So let's just take it to the most recent activities, and you can see here we have this zone here. So what I like to do is when I'm looking at any asset generally, I like to look at the bottoms, what market has done at the highest and what market has done at the lowest. And I try to identify those points because every single time market goes high, the previous low becomes significant. And every time market goes low, the previous high becomes significant because now it becomes like a border from which we would want to consider what market would do after here or what market is currently doing. So every single time Bitcoin does a move to the upside, you would see, I mean, those areas become significant. So if we look at Bitcoin from when it was sitting at 56,000, now I personally, I like to look at these zones as, I don't like to put a line. The reason why I don't like putting a line is because I consider the levels in the market as a zone or an area. So maybe we can use the line just to be more specific on a particular level where we are seeing more reactions in the market. But I generally would like to see levels of support and resistance as zones in the market, not just one line or not just one level in the area. Like we just put a line here and say 73,862, whether it's a psychological number or not. I mean, I don't like to look at the market at this way. I always would like to see it as a zone. So every time you see me map out my charts, I'm using a rectangular box because I'm trying to look at a zone, because price does not get to just one area and react from there. It reacts within a zone. So we can say if price is sitting at 50,000 and we're expecting price to move above, or sorry, we're expecting price to react at 50,000. Let's assume it's dropping from 70,000 all the way back to 50,000. I would not just look at 50,000 as a level. I'll be looking at somewhere between 50,000 to 55,000. Why? Because these are price areas. Price can react anyhow. It will definitely have to find balance, find its way before it starts moving in a certain direction. So it can get to an area and play. It's just like how we see currencies fluctuate here and there. For example, in my country here, the dollar C, for example, every now and then it's moving, but you can notice it is moving within a certain level. So the dollar can be sitting at 73 at some point. At some point, it goes to 74, 75. but you notice it moves somewhere around there within the course of 2, 3 to 4, 5 months, thereabout. So I look at the movement of price at critical areas as a zone. I don't just look at it as just one level. So for me to finally conclude that price has really done its most and is getting out of that level, I want to see it trading completely outside of that zone. So with regards to that, for example, that the example I just gave now, if dollar C is trading around 73 to 75, for me to consider the dollar C going higher than that, I would want to see the dollar C go a little bit above 75 to there, somewhere around 76, 77, 78. Then I can conclude that, I mean, if it has broken 73, 74, 75, 76, all the way to 77, then that's very obvious that, I mean, this market is going up and we shouldn't expect anything below that. So that's just more like a move to the upside. And I can conclude and say, I mean, I don't expect the dollar C to be around this 73 or 74 again, because this kind of move simply means it's going up. So that kind of gives me, I mean, more assurance and more confidence about what that currency is doing. So that's why I like to look at the market in that perspective. I like to look at it from a zone perspective. So this helps me to actually eradicate anything that could be a hindrance in terms of, like, for example, what market is doing now. Someone could have just concluded that this is monthly. I'll definitely break this down to lesser time frames. So this is market sitting somewhere around, let me highlight that, somewhere around 107,000 to 102,000. Okay. Now, the reason why I say I like to look at the market this way is because now, if someone was just looking at this as a level like this movement to somebody could have been that Bitcoin has broken. It has broken a support to the downside, and Bitcoin most likely would be going further down. But for someone like me, I would want to see Bitcoin actually take out this entire zone. If it goes below this zone and I can see the candle body, which is the most efficient part of the candle itself, below the body closing, now I can conclude Bitcoin is trading below this zone. Until then, I'm saying anything is possible because Bitcoin is still trading within a support zone or within above a resistance zone. So we can't just conclude that Bitcoin has gone below, because for every time it breaks a level, let's look at this zone, for example. This is an entire zone for me. Bitcoin came into the zone, drop. So, I mean, for me, at this point, Bitcoin is still resisting. It's still not breaking out of the zone. But the moment it does this, I am convinced that Bitcoin is done with whatever is below here, and everything that is happening to Bitcoin now is above. So everything I'm considering about Bitcoin should be above this zone. So if it comes back to this zone, I know this becomes a significant level because this level has been taken out previously, and market has done its best to make sure that it sustains price above it. So you can see clearly when market comes back there, the proof that this place was a breakout zone, that market has given us another layer on the upside, is for the fact that when market comes back there, you can see clearly this zone reacts as another layer or another resistance for Bitcoin to find support to push to the upside, and so on and so forth. So this is a monthly time frame, and these things can, I mean, so let me just highlight this to the other side, then we can look at that. So for example, if you look at this to me is a zone, okay? So let's just look at it from this perspective. Let's assume this is somewhere around 2024, somewhere around February, going towards August. So if I am looking at this level here, somebody would have concluded that Bitcoin has broken this level. This is somewhere around 2024, around March, and Bitcoin has given us a price level of 73,550.85 cents. So at this point, someone would have, I don't know, I'm saying someone because I mean, I'm just saying generally, traders would have considered that Bitcoin has broken this level. I'm expecting it to go up. But for someone like me, a technical trader and someone who has a perspective of zone levels, especially if they are key levels, I wouldn't consider this a breakout just yet. Why? Because it's not far from my entire zone. It's not far. I would want to see Bitcoin come out of this zone clearly, push back into it, because market does not move randomly and market does not move in one direction. Market has a pattern in which it moves. And one of those patterns is the wave pattern. And that is why when market is trending, it gives a series of higher highs and higher lows. So a higher high is simply means market creating highs, series of highs as it's moving, and higher lows is more of like or less like I would say retracement points or correction points for another impulsive move to the upside. So market does not just do this. No, it does not move this way, like goes this. No. What market does is it impulse, it does a correction, it does an impulse, it does a correction. That's if it's trending on the upside. Likewise, if it's going to the downside, it does an impulse, it does a correction, impulse, a correction, impulse, correction to the downside. So once market starts to create this pattern, it creates what we call higher highs. All of these areas are higher highs. Sorry, maybe I'm taking things very fundamental now. I'm just trying to create a better picture for someone probably out there who doesn't understand the whole thing about how these markets move sometimes, and maybe you want to learn one or two, so you can just take advantage of this. So all of these levels are retracement points that market is actually looking out for before it takes another impulsive move. This is because the market is transactional in the sense that we have two sets of players in the market, buyers and sellers. So if there are only buyers and they are not sellers, it's not a complete deal. So just imagine someone, you want to do a business and you're just selling. You go to a market and everybody is selling and there is no buyer there. That's not a marketplace. There is no transaction going in there, because if everybody in there is selling, who is going to buy? So there must be that transaction for market to actually advance. And anytime you see market do this is buyers and this is sellers. This is what is creating the balance in the market for market to do what it is doing. If there is no balance in the market, there is no transaction. If there is no transaction, there is no business. So this is why we don't see market going just like this anywhere in any market. You would see market, even if market is going up, it goes in a form of a wave. This wave is just the transaction as market is advancing to wherever it wants to go. So for technical traders like us, we understand this clearly well. And that is why whenever we are looking at the market, we try to identify these wave patterns and see how best we can take advantage of them, because we know these are the areas where we can look for entries to make profit at the end of the day. So with that being said, just as I was saying here, so if market goes above here, I want to see it do something like, I am one of the traders that believe in preservative trading, because I've been trading aggressive for a very long time. And I noticed it's good to be aggressive, but you need to be intelligent about how you are aggressive in the market. You need to find a balance. Hello?
You're
Did someone
good.
say
I just joined on my other line. Sorry about that.
Okay. So I would usually want to see market do this, leave the place a little bit, come back into it. When it does this, I know that it has created a level. It has created a level. Until market finds a support or a resistance, I don't jump into the market, because the basic and most fundamental thing about the market is that it goes to a resistance, it drops, it goes to a support, it moves up. So one of these things are going to happen eventually. So I am just saying, why not wait for it to get to that point than hunting the market in between, where it is just ranging from a swing high to a swing low point? Why not wait for it at the cardinal point? Because these are the turning points. These are the pivot points. So if you're looking to jump into any market, the very thing you should need to know is how to identify the turning points, which are the pivot points. Okay. So I would want to see market come into that zone and move back up. I'm very sure. I think I have something with this trading setup with my community, and I told them about this move, because one of the things too, that as a trader or as someone that is planning or has interest in the digital world is that I tell people, I mean, there is nothing wrong with just looking at market as a technical trader or having a technical knowledge in the market and not doing anything with that. It just guides you at the end of the day. It just guides you because these things are elements in the market that helps you see the market better. So if you find anything that gives you like the ability to see beyond what others are seeing, it gives you an advantage. It puts you ahead. So I always like to tell people that regardless of what people have to say about technical trading, it's very important that as a trader or anybody that is planning or has interest in the digital world to understand the basics of technical analysis. And what are the basics of technical analysis? Support and resistance and candlestick anatomy. These three things are the most basic principles. If you're a trader, I don't care how good you are as a trader. I don't care how much investments you have. And you don't understand these basic technical rules. I mean, it's either you're giving your money out to someone to trade or you're just lucky or, I mean, you're just trading blindly. Eventually, the market will catch up with you someday. You're just getting lucky at some point if you're doing very well. I'm saying this because there is no asset that is not on a chart. There is no single asset out there that is not represented in a chart. So if you have a chart is simply a visual representation of the market showing you the highs and lows, the opens and the close. And these are very fundamental. If you don't know what the asset is doing, how do you trade it? I mean, news is good. News is telling you about the asset, but the charts is telling you what the asset is doing. So having an insight about what the asset is doing is one way to leverage in getting your wins or taking advantage of the opportunities that those assets will bring you. If you're able to see the asset and know what it's doing, at this point, we're not saying predict or analyze the market, but just look at the asset and know what the asset is doing. How would you be able to tell what the asset is doing if you're unable to interpret the charts? And one of the most basic things you need to know to interpret the chart is that candlestick anatomy. Forget about most of these advanced things that we trade as technical traders. That is just for us technical traders, okay? Liquidity and everything. I mean, there's so many jargons out there that we look at. But at the end of the day, it's something we use. But I'm saying you don't need to be too advanced technically, but it is a necessity that you understand these basic things. Understand what support and resistance is. When we talk about support and resistance, we're talking about turning points in the market. Market moves in a way that is obvious. It's just like every other day of the year. We celebrate Christmas. Christmas happens every year. Tobaski happens every year. So, I mean, we die, we live, our kids grow, they become fathers in the future. Christmas is going to stay. Tobaski is going to stay. That's how I see technical analysis. That's how I see support and resistance. There's always going to be a support. There's always going to be a resistance somewhere. If you know what support is and resistance is that's good for you at the end of the day. So I look at the market from that perspective. So what I'm saying, if you're out there and you want to be taking advantage into the digital world, into the crypto world, into the Forex, stocks, whatever you trade, you need to understand the most fundamental thing that and it's common across all digital assets. If you look at crypto, it's on a chart. If you look at Forex, it's on a chart. If you look at bonds, it's on a chart. If you look at derivatives, it's on a chart. Indices is on a chart. I can go on and on. There's so many digital markets out there, but all of them are represented on a chart. That is one thing they all have in common. So if you're able to interpret what the chart is saying, I'm not saying predict, I'm saying you're able to look at the chart and say, this is a bullish candle. What a bullish candle means, this is a bearish candle, that's what's the bearish candle. And looking at the candle and being able to explain what the candle is interpreting or what the candle is saying is more or less like you've done the groundwork. You've done all of the groundwork. You're already 40% or 50% into your wins or into making that first good trade you or investment you're ever going to make. So these are things I always emphasize on anytime I have the opportunity to talk to like-minded people, that invest a little bit of knowledge. If you have to pay for it, pay for it. But I also used to say this. I mean, I am a mentor, but I say this, if you're serious about what you're doing, you don't really need to pay a mentor. The only thing is that a mentor would help you spend less time to getting the work done. And you might not necessarily have to make too many mistakes to get it right. But going on your own is something you can do. but it would take you extra time, extra effort, and you have to make a lot of sacrifice. The reason why I say that is because I went through that way. Gambia, for example, when I started trading, I could not come across one single Gambian or one single person, even in the Gambia, that could tell me something significant about trading. Not even a single person. So I had to literally learn trading offline, self-taught. I mean, I made so many mistakes, wrong choices. I mean, literally for me to know something doesn't work, I have to do it wrong. And it cost me so much, so much. But now I thank God now I understand what I am all into, and I have the opportunity to also lead others. So I always tell people, you don't have to come for my mentorship class, but if you're able to do the work, I can point fingers on things you can do on your own, and you might probably get to where I am. Just that it won't be as easy because mentorship would help you pull all the noise, all the distraction, and focus on the very things that work. But if you're going on your own, you would have to go through a lot of things that are unnecessary. But that's how you filter out till you find the significant things that you need to work on. So one of the basic things I would say, and I would emphasize again, is you need to understand what technical analysis is. It's very important you understand what technical analysis is. You need to understand what the candlestick anatomy is. The candlestick anatomy is very, very, very important. It's very, very important because if you don't understand the anatomy of the candle, you would see candles and you're not able to tell what it means or what it's saying. You can. There is no way, there is no magic to that. And if even no matter how someone explains it to you, it might sound good, it might sound right, but if the knowledge is not there, I mean, it's just like pouring water into a basket. So you can't sustain it for long. It's gradually going to drop off and your basket would be empty. But if you have the knowledge yourself, you're able to look at the market and say, I know this, I understand what it's doing. I understand the psychology behind the candle. And if the market is doing this, you already have an idea what the market is saying. Even if you're unable to predict what the next move would be. But if you have understanding of the candlestick anatomy, you already have at least 50, let me say 40% knowledge of what the market would do next. Because it's just like someone telling you how they're feeling. And if you're a doctor, you can already conclude that, I mean, this is the signs and symptoms of malaria. So you can advise the person, start taking Coartem or whatever medication that helps cure malaria. You are one step into the solution. It could be something else, but at least you're giving them the fastest or the best things to prevent them from falling sick or from, I mean, becoming sick in any way. So generally, what I'm just boiling down to is invest into technical analysis about, especially the basic part of technical analysis, support and resistance. They are out there. These things are out there. The only thing is that everybody has their own way of explaining it. Like the way I might explain something might not be the same way someone else will explain it, but at the end of the day, it would come out good. So let's jump down to the charts itself. So I would want if you have any issue, if you have any questions about the terms I am using, let me know. So I would explain it, I would simplify it, because I would definitely mention certain things that might not come out clear to you. So if you hear anything, just stop me and let me know what do you mean, so that the explanation can become more clear. So this is just what Bitcoin is doing now. Bitcoin has given us a high, and that high is somewhere around 100 and let me check that. That's somewhere around 125,000. I believe that Bitcoin will go to 150,000. I'm not saying when it's going to go there, whether it's going to be this year, but there is a potential that Bitcoin is going to go to 150,000, especially from where it is standing now. This could be the push that would take us to 150. Now, let me go to my main chart that I've marked up. Let me go to my main chart. Sorry, I have so many lines on my chart. Sorry about that, but I mean, just bear with me. So now, let me take this off. Let me take this off. Let me take this off. Let me take that off. Now, if you look carefully, let me go down to daily. I'm going to look at Bitcoin from this point. This is 16,000, and I'm going to walk you through all the way to that level up there. So if you watch carefully, let me just move this. Are you guys tuned in right now? Can I
Yes,
get a yes?
Very
Okay.
much.
following.
It's
Okay.
good.
Thank
So-
you. You're doing great.
Okay, so if you look at Bitcoin, let's just take it up from here, okay? Bitcoin took off from this floor. Basically what I was saying, I like to look at market as a zone, and the zone will even help you spot out the next touches. So if we had a line, someone would have been saying, I'm waiting for market to come here. And it never did. It never did come back to that zone. But if you have a zone, I mean, you can accommodate the touches that are coming above. And I mean, this is as far as I can go. One thing I look out for is confluence. When I don't see confluence in the market, I try to avoid it, because trading in isolation is one of the worst things you can do. You need to make sure that you have enough confluence. Don't just center your decision based off one thing. You need to have confluence, and confluence is your greatest ally in spotting out opportunities in the market. So looking at this market, Bitcoin did this, broke out of this zone, gave us a double top here. Now, usually double tops are like two touches on a resistance point, or at a resistance that reverses the market. It's a bearish reversal. It's a bearish chart reversal. Okay. So usually when we say reversals, they're in two phases. We have candlestick formation and we have chart patterns. So double top is one of those chart patterns that we consider a reversal and a bearish reversal pattern. So this is a double top. Again, just look at the basic thing I've been saying. I like to look at market as a zone. So while other people are saying this was a breakout, I know this is not a breakout. This was just market spiking into those high points to lower. All of these moves, as a technical trader, we know what it means. These are all manipulations. These are all stop hunts, because you can clearly see the bodies of the candles are all below. So when you look at the anatomy of the candle, we have bodies, we have wicks, we have open, we have close. So the wicks above are the highs, the wicks below are the lows. These edges you are seeing at the side here, these are the open and close depending on what candle you're looking at. If it is a bearish candle, the open is always up and the close is down. And if it is a bullish candle, the open is down and the close is up. It simply reflects the direction. So if something is opening down, up and closing down, it means it's dropping. If something is opening down and closing up, it means it's going up. So that's generally the direction. So this shows us market is going up. This shows us market is coming down. But if you take note, all the candles are below. The bodies of the candle, the bodies are where the volumes are. This is where more activities were in the market. So wicks are also signs of rejection. So anytime you see a wick, wicks are very significant. And I love what wicks do, because wicks give me an idea of what I should be anticipating. Okay. So if you look at the candle bodies, they are all below. So this is rejection for me. So I'm looking at this as a zone, and I know, I mean, Bitcoin is not ready to go up further. Until it breaks above this, I'm not looking to buy any Bitcoin. I'm either going to sell or just hold my hands. We can see Bitcoin falling all the way down to another significant level that it previously broke. And this was the impulse that started the whole bullish run that we are seeing currently in Bitcoin. So you see carefully, Bitcoin comes back into this level around 16,000, somewhere between 16,000 to 13,000, and pulls back into that zone. You can see how it reverses back to the upside, because it has established a key level here for a push to the upside. Now, one of the things I have noticed, if for some of us that are on the Gambia Enthusiastic page, I once sent a chart that was somewhere earlier 2 years ago concerning the patterns Bitcoin usually will print out. And this is the pennant. Now, if you have time, just write that down. We have it's called pennant. We have the bullish and the bearish pennant, and you can also call another pattern similar to it as flag. the flag pattern. So it's a bullish flag or bearish flag. Check that out. Just check that out later when you're free. What a bullish flag is, a bearish flag is, what a bullish pennant is, and what a bearish pennant is. This is a chart pattern that usually I have noticed from the past 2 years that Bitcoin has been printing every now and then. These are the chart patterns. If I go on a lesser time frame, let's say 4 hours, you can clearly see these patterns are showcasing every single time, even to the current trade I'm trading right now on Bitcoin. Let me just look for that. Okay, let me just squeeze this chart and show you guys what I'm saying. So if you look, these are just the map outs of, if you look carefully, let me take you back to that bottom. And let's see, sorry, I'm not using the subscription version of my trading view, but let's try daily. Let's try daily and see how that will look. So if you look at daily, at least daily gives it to me. So if you look at daily, notice for any time Bitcoin does a drastic move to the upside or to the downside, it forms a channel. I can show you this over and over and over. Like all of these moves are channels. All of these moves are channels. Now, this is one pattern you can always look out for. It doesn't matter what asset you're trading or what cryptos you're trading. You would always find this patterns forming. Look at them. You see, that's another bullish flag. Now, this pattern is significant. How it works is that we are saying it forms what we call a flag. So this would be the bottom, and this would be this entire range, this entire channel to the downside would be like a flag. So if you look at it, it looks like a flag. This looks like a flag generally. I mean, technical traders have names that are just so, but this looks like a flag. That's why it's called a bullish flag. So a bullish flag is actually a continuation chart pattern. It simply means if market is going up and you see market forming a channel to the downside, we are saying this channel is just a manipulation. It's giving you an impression as if market is going down, because when you look at it on a lesser time frame, or you use like lesser time frame to magnify what the price is doing, it looks like market is trending down, but it's actually not trending. Why is it? Because one thing I consider is I don't consider a change of direction until I see market break out of a swing high or swing low position. So what would be a swing high position? So this was our last low that gave us a high to this point. So I'm saying anything within this range cannot determine a change of direction. The only time I consider direction change is when market takes out a swing high position or a swing low position. It can take out minor structures in between. Those are internal structures. Those are just movements within. So if you want to look at market from a bigger picture, look for the key areas. So this is one of the reversal patterns or continuation patterns I always like to trade on Bitcoin, because I've noticed it has been printing out every single time. I just decided to go back in time and backtest and see what Bitcoin has been doing with this pattern. And I noticed every single time it does a massive move, it does this pattern. So you see, it does that massive move, it creates this pattern and does a massive move to the upside. Does the same thing, does a massive move to the downside. Does the same thing, does a massive move to the upside. Let's just look at another one here. You can see that does the same thing. These are just the same thing it's doing. Does a channel, drops massively to the downside. Now look, even here, does the same thing and drops massively to the downside. Now, if you look at it diagonally, you would see it did the same thing and massively to the upside. Now, this was, I think I did the analysis here. This was the one I did recently. And I told people back then when Bitcoin was doing this, I remember Bitcoin was somewhere around here. I still have the screenshots. If those of us that are on the Gambia Enthusiastic page, I did send this video there. And I said that Bitcoin has been creating this pattern. And if we want to take leverage of this, we should wait for the breakout of this ascending and descending channel, which is either pennant or flag. So you notice it ranged all the way down as if it was going down. Look, this is the swing high, this is the swing low. It did nothing outside of this. But the moment it came to a pivot point, notice it stretched all the way to the upside. Did the same thing, broke out of it, and stretch to the upside. This pattern has been continuing. That's the same thing we see here. If I go a little bit lower on 4-hour, some of the patterns would look like it's just one zone, but the lesser the time frame, the more you're able to see certain things in terms of the pattern. Sorry, let me just reset my chart. So let's go back there. It should be somewhere around here. Sorry, I'm just trying to walk you guys to look out for these patterns so that you don't miss out on what Bitcoin is doing. That's what we're looking at. Look at it there. From that channel to the downside, broke out of it. We saw a massive move to the upside, massive move to the upside. Look at it. So you see, the market is fractal. When I say the market is fractal, it means you would see this pattern repeat itself even within other time frames. Okay. So when we say other time frames, we're generally saying if we have 24 hours, there is 2 hours within 24 hours, there's 4 hours within 24 hours. So the lesser time frame we go, we're just trying to narrow down the small activities that are happening within the lesser time frame or within 24 hours or within a week or within a month. So generally, you see that same pattern happens. Breaks out of it and notice, boom, to the upside. This pattern continues. I mean, even right now, I'm seeing another one. That's another one there. You can see that clearly. Does the same thing and boom to the downside. You can see once it breaks, it moves. The same thing keeps happening. Anytime this happens, we see a drastic move. So one of the things that would give you leverage is if you spot this pattern on a higher time frame. Once you see it on a higher time frame, be rest assured, man, there is something significant coming through after that. Look at it. We have the same pattern there, a flag, a bullish flag. Once it breaks out, it gave us the high. This was the breakout that gave us the high. So you can see that this has just been happening over and over. And now currently, I took a sell. This sell, I think I shared this on our page. I took a sell from here, and look, it was the same thing I saw. It formed this pattern. This was just recently. This was just last week that we took this trade. I think I shared it on the page. It formed the same channel, broke out of it. I knew it's going to come. Look out for support, resistance somewhere, and it dropped massively to the downside. Currently, even internally, I'm seeing the same thing. Let's go on 1 hour. If you go on 1 hour, look at what it's doing. It's doing the same thing. You notice it has created a channel. Now, the only thing is once it does this, now you need to just look out for the levels where you should expect reaction. Okay? That's all I'm looking out for. I have 2 levels, and this is why I say it's important to understand the candlestick anatomy. Now, for example, for someone like me, if I'm not present, I might probably leave a pending order here, which probably would have put me in a trade right now. But if I'm present, I want to see it happen in real life. And one of the things I look out for is the candlestick confirmation entry. So a candlestick confirmation entry for me is like, I want to see market come through my POI and give me more or less, how would I say it? A candlestick reversal that shows me a bullish trend, a bullish momentum. Once I get that, I'm able to say, okay, I think market is ready now. Because I mean, what I try to avoid is to predict the market. One of the worst things you can do is to try to predict the market. Don't jump into predicting the market. Follow the market. Whatever the market is doing, it will show you signs that this is what I want to do. All you need to do is follow. Trying to predict the market is like you trying to go against the entire market. And do you know what that means? It means you're trying to go against central banks, financial institutions. Who are you, man? You don't have nothing to do that. You don't have what it takes to do that. So why not allow the big boys to decide what they want to do and just follow behind and make, if not the same money, but make good money out of their decisions. That's generally what I'm saying. So currently Bitcoin, for me, on daily, let me show you what I am looking at from a daily perspective. Now, I guess I can just delete all of this line so that I don't confuse you guys. Now, all of these layers I have highlighted. I highlighted these layers weeks before market got to them. And I can't explain how I did that, but it's from a technical approach. So, I mean, that's for another day. But generally, these are layers I had already highlighted. I just did this today because of what I am anticipating. Now, the reason why I did that is because I am seeing a candlestick pattern that is telling me, and this is because I have understanding about the candlestick anatomy. And what I am seeing based on the candlestick is something that is telling me something different. Okay, so I'm just waiting to see how that will end. Now, if you notice, we are seeing very strong bearish candles to the downside. Now, for me, when I see two candles of the same color covering or engulfing the opposite candle, which is this is a continuation for me. So this is more or less like a bearish bullish continuation. So I'm saying these guys were in charge, these guys came in, and these guys came back. So who is in charge? These guys. Generally, that's what I'm saying. And when I look at the market, I don't consider the current candle when I am looking at the current market, because the current candle could close anyhow, but the previous candle has already closed. It has told us what actually happened. This could end up anyhow at the end of the day because it's still forming. Anything could happen. And that is why I'm kind of looking into the zone below, this zone below. And the reason why I'm looking into that is because I would consider this some level of liquidity there. But however, I just as I said, we don't predict the market, we follow. We just follow. At the end of the day, if market is going to drop, it will drop. Now, if you notice carefully, we're seeing green candles, but if we come on weekly, we're seeing red candles. Okay, and this is a very significant candle body. It's a very significant candle body. This is telling me there is a lot of bearish momentum in this market. And if we look at the swing high that gave us to the swing low, it will be this that led to this. And what I like to do is I like to see market at discount and premium price. So one of the tools I use, you can also use it, is a very good tool. I mean, I don't use it all the time because it has some correlation with the candlestick itself in terms of where I find these turning points. That has to do with order blocks, but I mean, I cannot explain what order blocks are. So if you look at the Fibonacci, this is a retracement tool. We call the Fibonacci a retracement tool because as technical traders, we use this tool to look for the turning points. So there are two significant levels with the Fibonacci retracement tool, which is the 61.8 and the 78.6. These are the two levels. This is just 50%. So what I like to see is that before I jump into buying or selling, if I'm looking to buy, I would always want to see market pull back below 50% or 50%, provided I have confluence. Now, I don't trade this in isolation. This is just one confluence I use, okay? So I would want to see market come 50%. So what I'm trying to say, that's why I never attempted selling, buying at any of these points, looking at it from this perspective, okay? I only started looking for buys the moment market tapped below this zone. This was where I started buying. I'm saying it could still go lower, but I'm saying if I was ever going to buy into a market, it should be within the 50% or below, because I consider this a discount price. I don't want to buy price when it's premium. I want to buy it when it's discount. And if I'm selling, I don't want to sell it when it's on discount. I want to sell it when it's in premium price. So in that case, everything I've been doing up here was just selling, because this is a premium area. Why should I be looking for sales, buys at premium areas? I should be looking for sales, because I mean, market is still at its highest. So buying more doesn't make sense for me. Until I see market corrects and I can see that discount, then I can look for buy. But even from a weekly perspective, I can quickly delete this. From a weekly perspective, I can tell you that, I mean, we are seeing Bitcoin is a very strong crypto. Definitely, it has a very good ecosystem and the adaptation is wild. So, I mean, it could do crazy things, I know for sure. But from a technical perspective, I like to be preservant with what I anticipate in the market. I don't want to be too excited with expectations because of what fundamentally I think is happening. I want to be sure that, you know, regardless of what is happening fundamentally, it is in line with what is happening technically. Because you see, when both technical and fundamentals are saying the same thing, it's even high probability. And so as a trader, what I want is to always look for my highest probabilities in the market. I don't want to look for low probability setups or low probabilities opportunities. I'm always looking for the high probabilities. And what I'm trying to say generally is that Bitcoin is in between now. Now, people who want to predict Bitcoin right now will be caught up, but people who are careful enough to wait and see what market is going to do, they will take their time to be part of the next big move. And I said earlier on that Bitcoin is gonna start tanking. It might tank, but it's gonna come in when we least expect it. And because it's gonna come in when we least expect it, we shouldn't be quick to react. And for those who had technical knowledge about what Bitcoin is doing, for example, I wasn't really bothered about the drop. I knew Bitcoin was going to drop. In fact, I was anticipating this drop from here. But once I saw this bullish engulfing, which is another strong bullish momentum candle, I knew that Bitcoin might probably go a bit higher. And this is weekly. This is a very strong and significant reversal or continuation or change of behavior for a bullish market. Once you see a bullish candle like this engulfing, a previous bearish candle, just know that, pullbacks might happen, but the higher probability is for a continuation to the upside. That depends on what level you're looking at the market, whether it's at a support or resistance. So I am currently looking at Bitcoin from this perspective. Now, sorry, let me remove that. If you notice, I have a dynamic trend line here. So this dynamic trend line is just when market is going diagonal and you are unable to find the basic support and resistance, which is horizontal levels. These are dynamic levels. So from a dynamic level, I can clearly see Bitcoin forming this channel. Now, this, mind you, what I told you about channels. If market breaks out of this, like it does on every single time I've showed you this, there is a possibility that, I can't tell how far or I can't tell what could happen, but I'm saying if market does this, breaks out of these entire zones, comes back into these zones and respects it and start doing this, we might see Bitcoin take out this floor and potentially come to a very key level, which is this level here. This level here, this zone here. This is very possible. If we have a clean breakout of this channel that is going to the upside, we might see Bitcoin drop to this level. It's very possible. That's very possible. So just have that at the back of your mind that this is possible. So I am not actually saying this would happen. That's why I said I don't like to predict the market. I just like to follow. So if I was going to look for a good, like if I'm looking to really short Bitcoin, like sell it for good, I would just be waiting for market to give me this sign, break out of this zone and push up to the upside. Once it does that, I would be looking for sells to the downside. Mind you, Bitcoin is the reason why I said Bitcoin is standing in between. Let me use this rectangular box. This is a very key zone for me from a technical perspective. This is a bullish block. Now, I will explain quickly what a block is. Now, a block is a zone where we see massive moves to the upside or the downside. So one of the key things I consider to say this demand zone or this supply zone is valid is that I look for about four things. One of them is I want to see market break structure. I want to see market break a structure. One, I want to see market create inefficiency. So inefficiency, I can't explain that, but go and check what inefficiency is in the market. So inefficiency is just market creating a balance, meaning market is leaving in unfulfilled price action in the market, like an uncompleted transaction. So this would be an inefficiency for me. If you notice here and here. So, there is this gap these gaps needs to be filled. This imbalance needs to be filled. So these are some of the things I look out for when considering an order block. Okay. So an order block too, you can check that out. I don't want to say too many things about technical things that would confuse a complete beginner. But I mean, this is why we are here to learn. You can note these things down, I mean, and go check them out. Go check them out. Go check them out. As I said earlier on, if you cannot find a mentor, if you cannot pay for mentorship and you feel like it's a waste of money, you just need to put in the time, you know, go out there, make out time daily, weekly, I mean, 2-3 hours during the day or during the week, and just make research and I mean, get the knowledge is out there. You might not hear the same thing, but they're all similar. We all have generally the same concept about order blocks. We just trade it differently. So I would want to see a break-off structure, which I've shown you, inefficiency, leaving gaps, and imbalance. Imbalance usually is the candles that give you this massive move. Like you can see this massive move. These candles are called imbalance candles. When you see candle drop drastically or shoot up drastically, that's an imbalance because market doesn't move like that. If it does move like that, it means there are big players in the market. And those big players are the people that make moves in the market. So I'm saying this was a move by big movement, big money. This was so much volume. So I'm expecting market to react if it comes back there. Because you have orders sitting here, pending orders, buy orders, sell orders. So there's a lot of volume. There's a lot of money sitting here. Many people are looking at this market and saying, I'm going to sell, I'm going to buy Bitcoin when it gets to 100,000, because everybody has their own interpretation of what volume is and probably what they would want to do at this level. So I'm saying there is a tendency that if market sustains at this level, doesn't go below our zone, does not break this minor zone I have below, we could see Bitcoin shoot up all the way to 150. Because this area is the next pivot point on the dynamic zone that will be or considered a resistance. We don't have any price history, meaning there is no back data we can reflect on to consider a level here. What is a back data? A back data is simply this. So for example, the reason why market is rejecting here, we have a confluence that there was a rejection there prior. So we don't have such thing above here, meaning these areas are called unknown areas. This is the land of the unknown at the moment. If market goes higher than this, we already know there is an area here. This is known to us now, but the moment market takes this level, it's just like what gold is doing now. Gold is just breaking highs and it is trading more or less within the unknown zone. So we would like to see a lot of price action to be sure that, okay, this is a resistance, this is a support level, but we don't have too much activities there. So it's still unknown to us. So I'm saying if market goes above this zone, there is no say, or there is nothing, or there is less that we can say as to how far it will go. And that is why I feel if it goes above the zone, it will definitely hit 150, because 150 would be the nearest dynamic area that we would find resistance. We have one here, we have two here. The next nearest place will be here. Okay, so generally that's what I am looking at Bitcoin. And if we narrow down to the smaller picture, that's 1 hour. Just trying to see. Let me just delete this quickly. So let me delete this too quickly. So now Bitcoin is already dropping, and above Bitcoin, there is a resistance. This resistance is just internal and minor, but it's still significant, because if you look at it, we are seeing significant reactions at that zone. My support and resistance zone might confuse some of you, because I mean, it might not look like what you usually would see, but I mean, if you understand it, that's good for you. If not, I mean, you can leave me a message. Maybe I can try and break that down for you if I can. So if we look at Bitcoin right now, Bitcoin is failing to go lower. Now, the previous zone that market came to that gave us this low is currently the zone where Bitcoin is rejecting from. And we are seeing that Bitcoin has rejected. Okay, I saw Isaac drop the pennant flag. Thank you very much for doing that, brother Isaac. I saw what you dropped on the Telegram page. That's the perfect patterns I've been talking about. Thank you for that. I'm just seeing it now. So these touches we're seeing now for me is acting as support, but this is still minor for me. This is still minor for me. And there is a tendency, if market breaks below, it's going to take out this low because this too is liquidity. So I don't know what, if I have to explain what liquidity is, it's going to take much time, or I don't know. But just check it out. Some of these things I mentioned, if you really want to trade, you need to know them. You need to know them. These are basic, whether fundamental trader, whether technical trader, you need to know what liquidity is. Okay, from a trading perspective, like as a trader, what does it mean when someone says this is liquidity? Okay, you need to understand that. So let me just try to take that back. So now from 4 hour, we are seeing that market is actually dropping out from the previous resistance, okay? And that previous resistance is significant to us. It's very significant to us because it was that previous resistance that kind of gave us, how would I say? Sorry, something just opened here. Sorry about that. Sorry, I'm just trying to walk through something. Anyways, sorry about that. And this previous resistance here is where we had our first rejection. Now, I would have loved to see that this drop came lower than this, but it did not. Now, the reason why I'm saying that is because whenever market is going down, it forms what we call series of higher highs and series of lower lows and series of lower highs. What does that mean? This, if I should explain that, this would be a lower high, this would be a lower low, this would be a lower high, and this would be a lower low. So this is the most recent lower high market has created. But this lower high failed to create a lower low. I am not invalidating this downward move, but this is a sign. So for me, or technically, for a trend to be considered invalidated, it should fail to create lower lows, and the previous lower highs are invalidated, meaning market is breaking this ones. Market is breaking these zones. Market is breaking this. Market is breaking this. Market is breaking this. Market is breaking this one. Even though this is internal now, this is internal, this is external. I want to see it take the external. When it takes the external, I am definitely sure this market is not going down further. Probably if it comes back to a key level of resistance, it might come lower. But once it takes this zone, I'll be seeing, I'm expecting more buys to step in. So at this point, market has created what I would call equal lows, equal lower lows. So this is a sign, and you can clearly see there is so much bullish momentum right now because this one candle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 candles of 4-hour candles, meaning every candle here represents 4 hours, is still trading within the range of one bullish 4-hour candle. This is a sign for me. I'm trying to determine the momentum in the market, and I'm seeing that even though bears are pulling in, but bulls have something reserved that is still playing out. Okay, so now if you go on the 3 hours, on the 3 hours now, I like to narrow down across multiple time frames. Now, multiple time frames helps me to see market in different lights so that I will not just stick to one opinion all the way to 30 minutes. Okay. Now, if you look at 30 minutes, I even had something here. Let's touch that here. And let's touch this other one here too. Similar to what I have been saying. So I think I even had a screenshot here. I had a screenshot of this somewhere around there. So I was saying this was my anticipation. I don't know if you can see the picture, if the screen is sharing this. Are you guys seeing this?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Yeah, so I had an overview that this is what I'm expecting. If market breaks below now, this zone is internal, but it's still significant because before market starts to do anything, it will start happening from the lesser time frame. Even though the lesser time frame can be misleading, but once you have determined direction and key levels from a higher time frame perspective, you can narrow down onto lesser time frames and try to see how soon market will start gravitating towards those directions you've already determined. If that is wrong, first of all, every other thing is wrong. If your direction or your bias in the market is wrong, your key levels are wrong, you can be doing every other thing right, but you will still be wrong because the first step is wrong. So the next thing I had was this. So what I said is if market doesn't break out of this, I'm expecting it to come. And if it comes, this level I'm telling you is an equal low. It will break it. And usually I would want a break and a retest. So it won't be a fake out. I want to be preservative and I want to be sure that this is a breakout and not a fake out. I want to see a break and a retest. I have a breakout strategy that I trade to confirm that this is a breakout and not a fake out. I think I shared it on the page too, but I mean, some other time I can share that for the sake of time. That's just that. So these are the two things I'm anticipating. And guess what? The first one happened. The first one was this. I anticipated that market will break above this. If it breaks this, at least it has taken one structure. Now, this is a structural point for me because it was this swing high that broke the low that gave us a break of structure and gave us a lower low. So this is a very key breakout for me because this level was the source of the breakout that broke this level here. We are seeing here, this low here. Even though all of this is internal, I would still consider it because now we're looking at the micro time frame. Okay. So now I see market come back into this zone. I would have loved, to be honest, I would have loved to see market do this. Even if this is a fake out, I wouldn't mind. But if he had done this, I would have preferred this way more and come back into this because now market has not only broken out internal structure, it has broken out external structure. That makes it very significant, extremely significant. And as I said earlier on, the breakouts that break external structures are very key to me because the external structures are the structures that are actually giving direction in the market. So if they are invalidated, it simply means the direction or the bias of the market has changed. So we still have our fingers crossed. So now what I'm saying is that if market comes to this key level, now again, all these areas I've highlighted, these are significant levels. Let me use my Fibonacci retracement tool and just see what we would get from there. So with the Fib, just as I said, I like to see market 50%. So the reason I had this area was because it had some level of significance. We had imbalance and all of that. But note I haven't taken that trade because I am not seeing the momentum I'm looking for. I'm not seeing the candlestick confirmation for entry setups, meaning if I'm supposed to buy Bitcoin from this level at 101,907, I want to see a strong bullish momentum candle. It could be an engulfing, it could be a hammer, but I want to see that. But now, mind you, I have a minor zone below it. This minor zone is below my 50%, and it's within an order block. Now, this block is a base block. Sorry, I would have to drop these things because these are the reasons why I trade this market. So if I don't explain them or say them, I'm literally going to confuse you guys. So for me, this is a base block. So a base block is a continuation block. So we have different types of blocks. We have order blocks and we have base blocks. Base blocks are continuation blocks, meaning if this is an order block, it's moving to the upside. As this movement is going, it's creating blocks. Now, these blocks that it creates within, if market comes back to it, it respects them and react like we see one here. I'll quickly explain this. So this is a base block. Market has reacted off that. So for me, I wouldn't consider this again because this is mitigated. How was it mitigated? Market came back into it, reacted a little bit. The first one, this is a fair value gap, and that's why I had this zone. Market reacted there, but it wasn't significant. But now the one that is below, which is below and it is within the breakout of this zone, is significant to me because the one below it has been mitigated. So I'm just going to walk you guys through quickly. This is just a tip. I mean, this is also a block. just going to highlight this quickly. So if you're a fundamental trader today, you're getting some technical juice out here, right? Okay, I'm going to explain this quickly. This is the last one, then we're done. Isaac, I can still go on, right?
Yes, you're good. Go ahead.
Yeah, please, if you
No.
need me to round up, like
No,
within
you're
5
fine
minutes.
because we
Yeah.
started an hour early. You have time, so you can go ahead and show
Okay.
this one as well.
Okay.
It's
So
pretty good.
generally, you can just note this down, order blocks, okay? So if you're going to look into it, I would rather have you look into it detailedly, like to understand what an order block is. So if you're going to make deep research on order blocks, what I want you to look out for is what is an order block? What makes a block valid or invalid? Once you understand that, what is a base block? I mean, like these basic things, if you understand this, you are okay. You're good to go. So let me just quickly explain this now. Mitigation is very important when it comes to the market. Everything that happens in the market is a chain walk. Chain walk simply means you walk and hand it over to someone, and someone hands it over to someone. So that's how the transaction goes. No one, I believe that it's called blockchain, is generally chain walk. So the market is a chain walk. It's no one person that is doing everything. It's more like a dialogue with different kind of people, different kind of approaches. So everything about the market is all about mitigation. For market to be completed, or for us to have a complete cycle, there must be mitigation. There must be balance. Okay. So if you look at order block, an order block is more or less in terms of a bearish block or a bullish block. I would rather say it's, if we're looking at it from a resistance point, or let's look at it from a support point, since we are at a support. If we're looking at it from a support point, an order block would be the last bearish candle before we saw a bullish move. So in that case, this was the last bearish candle. Now, we have other types of ways to determine order blocks, but I believe if you do your research, you would understand the other three. I'm just going to give you one. So the first explanation to the first one is that it's the last bearish candle before we have an impulse to the upside. So if that's the last bearish candle, it will be this. And this last bearish candle swept liquidity. When we say sweep liquidity, it means it took out every price that was sitting before it, meaning it went lower before anything that happened around it. So in that case, if we look at this as the last bearish candle, this candle went lower than this. In other cases, let me look for a different case. In other cases, like if we're looking at it from this perspective, even though this is the last bearish candle, this is not the order block. This is the block, this green candle, because what? It was the last candle that took out or that went below the previous price. So meaning money have shifted from here to here, because if this candle went lower than this, it means all the money sitting here has been moved to here. So this is where the money is. So it's generally a movement of money. So money is sitting here now, it has moved there. Now other people will come to collect it from where it was to another place. So you notice the money keep moving, and that is why the market keep moving. So if you notice, this was the last candle that gave us the bullish move that took market to the upside. But all of these blocks have been mitigated, and that is why I feel this is the most significant block in this entire move to the upside. Why? Because this candle went up. Notice this green candle here, this one here. Let me try to use this arrow. Notice this candle here, this one came back into it. So when it came back into it, it's mitigated. So four things. For a block to be valid, it has to break structure. One, it has to create inefficiency. Two, it has to create imbalance. Imbalance could be as well as fair value gap. It has to create imbalance, and it has to create an unmitigated block. When we say market is unmitigated, it means nothing has come back to fill that price. So we notice this, it did that, it has been mitigated. So far as it has been mitigated, I'm not interested in it as much as I would be if it was not mitigated. The next one creates what? A base block. Guess what? Market went above, came back into it. This has been mitigated. Create another base block. went back. Notice this candle came back into it. It has been mitigated. But notice after market left here, it never came back there. So this to me is unmitigated. Does that make sense? This block here is unmitigated because after market left here, there was no point in time market came back. So you see, I can't say how far this will go, but I am not surprised why it is reacting here is because this is a block that has not been mitigated. So when market comes back into it, it must react. And someone will be asking, why didn't it come here? Why didn't it come here? Why did it not come here? I would say it's simply because these blocks have been mitigated. Market has filled the transaction there. It's complete. So it's going to deal with the incomplete price action, which is here. This has created inefficiency. This candle is an imbalanced candle, and this block broke structure. So it has met all the criteria of a valid block. And that is why, even though I had a zone here, I have another zone here. Notice I told you I did not see any bullish or any bullish reversal happening here. All these candles are just mere candles. But notice this candle created a pin bar. This is a hammer at this zone. So this is a bullish sign for a bearish reversal. Sorry, a bullish reversal. Now, it doesn't matter whether this candle is bearish. This is where candlestick anatomy comes in. Now, you can see this candle is bearish, but this candle is not actually bearish, it's bullish. Why? Because I understand the psychology behind this candle. And the psychology behind this candle is very simple. Even though this candle is bearish, it's showing us bullish momentum. It's showing us bullish dominance. Why? Because this candle is a bullish reversal candle, even though it closed bearish. Why am I saying this? If we interpret this from a candlestick anatomy perspective, this is the open, this is the open, this is the close. Sorry, this is the open above here, and this is the close. This is the lowest point in time in the market, and this is the highest point in time. But guess what happened? When this session opened, it came this low. But for one reason or the other, bulls came in and stepped in with price, pushed it all the way up. Even though they could not close this candle bullish, but they dominated this candle in this session. Why? Because I can see the rejection is twice the body of the candle, meaning bulls really pushed this market up. So if this candle closes even bearish, someone calls it a bearish candle, but I call it a bullish candle because what? It's bullish momentum I'm seeing here. I'm seeing bulls dominating this candle. I'm seeing more of bullish activity than bearish activity, even though it's a bearish candle. So you see the importance of the candlestick anatomy. You are able to interpret the candles. You are able to say who is actually dominating, where the volume is, not just how it looks. How it looks is just how it looks, but what is happening inside the candle is what is more significant. So at the moment, if this candle closes, this 30-minute candle closes bearish and bullish engulfing, I'm expecting this to take us to this resistance. Whether it's going to break it, just as I said, I don't like to predict. I like to follow through. So my entry model will be somewhere around here. Somewhere around here. So let me use my... Now I'm going to attend to those that are hodling. So if you're hodling, it simply means you're holding this as an investment for the long term. And I mean, you're not one of those traders that is actually doing instant execution like me. But again, I mean, with this knowledge, whether you're hodling or doing instant execution, you can still make profit out of the market. So generally, I'll be selling from here, buying from here all the way there. But I would have actually bought from here because I would have narrowed down on 5 minutes to identify this buy here because I would have seen something significant from 5 minutes. Let me just go through it and see if I would have seen that. Yeah, I would have seen that. So while every other person is waiting for a bullish engulfing, I said something that market is fractal. You can go check the word fractal. It's a very simple term that we use in trading. So when we say market is fractal, it simply means it doesn't matter the time frame you're looking at. The same patterns could repeat themselves even on a lesser time frame, but it will still give us the same results. So while somebody else is waiting for 30 minutes engulfing on 30 minutes, I would have probably entered from the 5 minutes engulfing. That's a bullish engulfing there. This candle engulfed that, and this is a bullish reversal. So this is what I mean by candlestick confirmation. The first time market got here, I never got any one of them. And for me, I trade only one candlestick confirmation, which is the engulfing. The engulfing for me is the most significant reversal for a buy or a sell, because the interpretation of that candle, the psychology behind that candle shows so much dominance and momentum for the bullish side and the bearish side. So at the end of the day, I would have jumped into this candle, into this buy setup here, and my stop loss would have been below the zone. Now, again, I'm not trying to be perfect. Now, what I try to do is, I'm not trying to win every single time I take a trade, but because of the strategy I have in place, what I try to do is to win at average, okay? So if I take 20 trades and I win 7 trades, I'm still profitable because my risk to reward gives me the profit I'm looking for. So risk to reward meaning what I am risking for what I am getting. So in that case, if I'm risking, let's say I have $1,000 account, if I'm risking $100 for every time I take a trade, I make $300. So let's assume I win 3 trades, 7 trades out of 20. I'm in a meeting. I'll call you back, please. Let's say I win. So at this point, this would have been my entry. I could still be wrong. Now, there is no perfect trader. There is no perfect trade. Okay. Trading is all about probability. At the end of the day, what you need is a strategy that gives you an edge. So this would have given me 1:4, thereabout, roughly 1:4. 1:4. So yes, 1:4. That's all I'm looking for. So I just want to get 4 times of what I'm risking. And this could continue. So I might close partials and just go to the upside and probably make the rest of the profit. So this is what I am looking at now. Now, all of this can change. Once the market sentiment changes, the market bias changes, I change my opinion. One thing I try to avoid, I don't try to get married to one thing that I'm seeing in the market, because the market is transitional. Market does not move in one pattern, okay? So at the end of the day, I mean, what you need to do is to adapt to the changes in the market. If you learn how to adapt to the changes in the market, you will not be bothered about trying to make profit here or make profit there, because you will change to those, you make adjustments to those changes, and it will be for your own good at the end of the day. So currently, this is what I'm looking out for Bitcoin. If Bitcoin breaks this zone, I would definitely need to wait for a certain kind of reaction to determine whether it's going to go further. But one thing I can say for sure, if Bitcoin breaks out of this zone, or we have a daily candlestick confirmation, let me delete the rest of all of this. If Bitcoin definitely gives us a daily candle that is significant, like a bullish engulfing, or the current daily candle closes bullish, I am expecting Bitcoin to really push up to this second zone here. If it pushes up to this zone, now this zone is a key area for me too as well, because market sustained above this zone for a very long time. And since it broke it, it never came back to it. This was a breakout, and market never came back to the breakout. So if market comes back into this zone, gives me a sell confirmation, I'm still going to sell Bitcoin all the way down. If it doesn't and pushes up, sustains above, we might look into something else. If it trades inside of this range, because previously Bitcoin was ranging between this and this. So market consolidated here for a while before we saw this breakout. And this happened from, let me see, from July 14 all the way to November. So this zone was really a tug of war. And eventually, if market comes back into it, we should expect some tug of war going on there. But if it breaks out of this entire zone and comes up, let's be rest assured that there is a great possibility. I'm not saying it's going to be so, but there is a great possibility that Bitcoin is traveling in the land of the unknown, and there is no say to how far it will go. Till we probably see it come to this 150, which is within our dynamic zone, there is a great possibility that Bitcoin could just continue going up and up. Likewise, if we have a break below that zone, let me just zoom this out so that we can just know the other thing we should expect. let me use this trend line. If we see Bitcoin break below this zone, I would not only want it to break this resistance. Now, if it breaks this resistance, dynamic support, sorry. If it breaks this dynamic support, I'm expecting it to find support. I mean, at the end of the day, wherever it finds support, I'm really not bothered because I'm not going to trade against it. If I'm going to trade against it, I would definitely wait for a confirmation. And I mean, a confirmation of what I would consider a confirmation because of how I trade confirmation to either buy. But I would definitely wait for Bitcoin to come and find, because as I said, market does not just move like that, just in one direction, like going back now. It breathes in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. I'm expecting that breathe in, breathe out setup here. If it comes here, looks for support, or probably breaks it, any of the two, I want it to come back here and find resistance. Once Bitcoin drops a little bit below and does not give me any candlestick reaction that is telling me loss of momentum, but showing me signs of continuation. Once it goes below here or somewhere around where I just came from, I'm looking to sell Bitcoin further. I'm looking to sell Bitcoin further, probably to somewhere around here. This will be considered a minor zone that we might see some level of reaction. This is very possible. This is very possible. We might see some minor reaction. I'm saying this is just me thinking of all the possibilities. Okay. I'm not saying any of this is going to happen or it's a must, it would happen, but I'm saying these are all of the possibilities around Bitcoin at the moment. And if any of these happens, we know what to do. So what I'm going to tell each and every one of you is don't try to predict the price, just follow the price, because if price is going to go up, it's going to show us signs. If it's going to go down, it's going to show us signs. Wait for those signs and follow through. Okay. So that's all I have for today. If you have any questions, you can just quickly ask them, and I'll try my best to answer them.
So it's great. That was like a master class there for us for trading. I wanted to ask, and I'll open it for everybody else to ask question, but I'm obviously more of a medium to long term in my holding of Bitcoin. And right now we're looking at a couple scenarios in the market, right? One is a traditional cycle, which means that in the next several months, we probably see a drop in price. And the second scenario is a super cycle, which means that the price will probably keep on going up well through 2026 as well.
Okay.
If I want to hedge, right, I don't do a lot of trading at all. If I want to hedge and, I want a way to do like a short hedging position for Bitcoin against all of my long exposure, right?
Yes.
What would you recommend for someone like me, or maybe someone in the audience who is not a trader, doesn't know all the technicals very well, just wants a good hedging?
Yes. So if you're looking to hedge to secure your portfolio at the same time, what I would say you would do is, at this point in time, I would say currently Bitcoin is very unstable from that point where it is standing, because I am seeing signs that Bitcoin, the reason now I am seeing more buying possibility than selling possibility, but at the same time, I am seeing the possibility of sales. So what I would say is, at the moment, if you notice this level below, there is so many rejections. You can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, about 4 daily candles, and daily is a high time frame. So imagine we are saying for the past so 4 days will be around 48 hours, 48 plus 48. I don't like stressing myself with calculation now, so just do the maths. So we're saying 48 hours. Market has been literally struggling to go below this zone. The farthest it has gone is this, and this was not actually a go, this was actually a rejection. So what I would advise that is, let's first of all see how weekly will close. Now, if weekly close this strong, because this body is really strong. If weekly closes this strong and probably closes a little bit below, and daily closes bearish, and I'm seeing a significant bearish candle, what that is telling me from a technical perspective and from what market is doing based on the charts, it's telling me Bitcoin still want to go down because what? At that point in time, I'm seeing a continuation, and that's a bearish candle. That's a continuation. So if I see a daily candle close, I would advise wait for candle close. I'll probably just do a follow up with me, and I'll just because I just as I said, I like to follow what the market is doing. I don't like to predict the market because if it's going to go down, as I said earlier on, it's going to show us signs, and if it's going to go up, it's going to show us sign. I'm currently saying let's wait for that sign. Let's wait because market is standing at a critical area. The critical area is that it could turn at this point and it could break at this point. So trying to predict whether it will turn or it will break is you exposing yourself to too much risk. So I would say let's wait to see what will happen within this zone. If market is going to turn at this point to the upside, it's going to give us signs, and those signs are gonna be obvious. For someone that is taking instant execution, like what I just said, that's just temporal because market could just move up and come down. But for someone that is holding it long term, I would say if you want to hedge this market, wait a little bit. Let's wait for weekly to close. Let's wait for daily to close because these are time frames that will tell us what market is going to do. Once we wait for that daily close, for that weekly close, today is Saturday. Tomorrow definitely Sunday. So somewhere Sunday, ending of Sunday, we should see how weekly would close and how daily would close. I would definitely do a follow-up on the Wakanda page about what my take would be after daily close and weekly close. And probably we can take it up from there. If there's any other questions, you can just throw it there. At the moment, I can't say much for long-term investment, but what I'm saying, it's standing in between because it's standing at a pivot point, and this is more like a crossroad. You don't want to just jump in now to hedge because it could drop. Just I'm saying this daily candle we are looking at, I mean, you should know what these markets are capable of doing. It could just pump down in the next 3-4 hours, I mean, from nowhere, and do what market has not been able to do for the past 3 days. So in that case, I mean, we are caught up. So why not just wait for daily close? Because daily is a higher time frame. For hodlers, I would always advise you look at market from daily, weekly. 4 hour is just for you to see, like using the magnifying glass. If you're hodling, don't try looking into 3 hours, 2 hours, 1 hour. Those are minor zones. Those are just noises in the market. Those are people for us that we are trading intraday traders or scalpers. We can trade those hours because, I mean, market could get to our targets even before it does the opposite. So we are okay because we've already made our win trades. But for someone like you, I would say if you're venturing to hodl longer, look at daily, look at weekly. 4 hours at most, the lowest you can go.
Okay. Other people have questions? Open it up.
I think it'd be good for you to share where people can find you, and if anyone's interested in reaching out to possibly learn from you and what you've been doing. Like I said, you've been offering a lot of amazing support to the Gambian crypto community over the last few years, and this session is a free session for everyone to come in and join and learn. And you've just literally been dropping gems after gems after gems after gems. It's been fantastic. So yeah, if you could just share how people can get in touch with you and possibly can come.
Okay, so currently I'm available on Telegram. I'm not too active on WhatsApp. Most of my activities are on Telegram because that's where the communities are. That's where the networking happens. But I mean, if you want to reach out to me, you can just reach out to me on Telegram. And one of the things I'm actually working on something. It's a masterpiece I'm putting together. It's about a year now. I'm trying to build a scratch to advance sessions on that will be pre-recorded where people can come. Because one thing I have learned in trading is that I noticed that even the very people that call themselves mentors, most of them are really in for the money. You get. I understand that trading is not something that someone should just want for free. I mean, if someone really has knowledge in something, definitely at some point they want to sell it, because at the end of the day, it's all about financial freedom you get. But for me, I'm seeing it from this perspective that many mentors, because I went through a lot. I went through a lot, trust me. I went through a lot to get to where I am. For 4 good years, like I was failing consistently for about 2 years, consistently, like back to back, month to month, week to week, day to day, like seriously. I mean, sometimes when I talk to my students, I tell them that if some of you went through what I went through, most of you could have taken your life, because it's so hard that this works, but you can't just find how to make it work. You just can't find how to make it work. And most of the mentorships I've been through and I've gone through, most of them don't want to do the basic. And that's where the work is. It's just like when you want to teach a child how to read and write. Before you want to talk about science, maths, and all these things, they need to understand the basic, which is the alphabet, the sounds of the alphabet, how to spell, how to read. Because if you can't read, you can't be good in English, you can't be good in science, you can't be good in all of these things. So the most fundamental part is just what I just started saying on, which people underrate, which is the basic support and resistance, the candlestick anatomy. The rest of that will come through once you start having the rest of that. So what I'm trying to put together right now is to have a very fundamental expo about the digital market itself. So with what I'm doing, I'm trying to say, okay, if you've decided that you want to really explore into the digital world, and I think the digital world is the next world. So if you're not part of it, where are you? Because at the end of the day, everything is going digital. Everything, people are literally virtualizing everything. So at the end of the day, the digital world holds a lot of opportunities. So what I'm saying is that let's make the communication easier. I've seen people that really want to trade so much so, but they don't even know how to start or where to start. They have internet, they have a laptop, but it's just like you going into the ocean and say you want to catch a tilapia. Oh, how do you find a tilapia in the ocean? There's so many fishes out there. So I'm building something, but for now, my mentorship classes, I do them for people that really don't want to wait for all of that to pull through. Okay, what I'm trying to build, let me just conclude on that. So what I'm trying to build is to have a platform. I'm still working on it because it's going to be very epic and massive. I'm not rushing it. I'm trying to make sure that the classes are very, very detailed. It addresses the very immediate thing. There is no too much explanation that does not have relevance to their growth or to their transition. I'm trying to focus on the very thing that they need, just that. And once someone picks up that, they can easily move on and you can teach yourself. So one of the things that mentors don't help traders is to have the ability to self-taught, to self-teach. You should be able to look at the market and be observant enough to teach yourself to things that are occurring that you're not taking note of or that you're not realizing, but you're observing them now and you're able to adapt to those changes. So that is what I'm trying to build up currently. But for now, all I'm doing is just mentorship and engaging people on the platforms that I am in. At the moment, I'm just in 3 platforms. That is the is it Wakanda? Sorry.
Yes.
Wakanda, yes, that's the Wakanda, the Gambia enthusiast page, and my private group. Okay, I'm even planning to dissolve that group now because most of them are centered on the numbers, and I'm the kind of person that I tell people, if you are following someone that shows you numbers and does not show you how he make the numbers, that person is a thief. Because one of the things that mentors would do is to lower you into showing you results, luxurious lifestyle. I've made a vow that I would never show out that part of me. If you're going to get anything from me, that's why anywhere you see me post anything is the charts, because you can't learn from the blues that I'm posting and making $100, $200. You don't get to learn nothing from that. But at least if you look at the chart, you can see something that you can correspond with, because that's where the learning is. That's the only thing people can learn from to become like you. But the numbers don't actually make them learn anything. So at the moment, I mean, if you want to work with me or if you want to do anything with me, you can just chat me up. I'm not a difficult person and I'm very open. Most of the things I share are even things that I share with my premium students. Some of the things I post on the Gambia Enthusiastic page these are my top-notch stuffs. Like, they look so basic, but they're not basic. These are things I've used over and over, and I've seen the result. And if any one of them that is on the Gambia Enthusiastic page here right now, you can see some of the screenshots I sent about some of the things I talk about. These are things I've been talking about since 2020, 2021, 4 years ago.
Very, very
Because
transparent.
because I've seen them so many times that they work. They look so simple, but they work. They work. So if you want to network with me, just chat me up on Telegram. And let me know if you want mentorship class. I'll walk you through my mentorship program. I have a one-on-one session. I used to have a group class, but the reason why I dissolved the group class is because sorry that I have to say this, but most of the people I was trying to help, most of them were Gambians. And the reason why I was making my classes so accessible, so affordable for Gambians is because when we started, I couldn't find one single Gambian inside or outside of Gambia that was a Gambian that is trading the digital market efficiently, not just by word of mouth, like prove, like they can explain the market like the way I just did. I couldn't find one. So I said, you know what? I think the reason why this is so is because we don't have many people in the Gambia that trade. So if I am one of them that is trading, I want to make this as accessible to my people. I want to make it as affordable as possible. But if you notice the first session I had, I think Mr. Isaac, you were there. I emphasized that we need to get off, our couches and get off the comfort zone and try to walk off those hard things off, because there is no success that comes easy. And the digital world, people think is easy money. It's a trap. It's a trap for people who don't understand it, and it's an opportunity for people who do understand how it works. So generally at this point where I am, I'm just trying to walk myself up to the top and walk with anyone that want to walk with me. For me, if it is digital related, if it is trading related, I'm all to go, because it's what I do full time now. Like, I've quit doing every other thing. I mean, aside from my one or two businesses that I run, and those ones I don't do them like the way I do before. I'm into computing. Before I started, I was fixing computers, repairing hardware, software, but a little bit of software, more of hardware. But now, I mean, I've transitioned. What I do is more of supplying computers to clients than doing that hard labor work now. And sometimes I don't have the time. Sometimes I do. I'm always at home with my kids, with my family. I mean, I'm always available, to be honest. I'm always available. So if there's anyone that wants to do anything, I mean, why not? I'm ready.
That's
The
brilliant.
whole idea is for us to grow.
And I think one thing that will align, because I've already shared your details with John, is that because through the Patreon, it could be an opportunity for you and John to do some collaboration, and hopefully for you to be a resident person on the live sessions every month
Yep.
to do your analysis. Because I think a lot of people had value here. It's a shame we didn't have more people on, because it's been absolute mind blowing. The delivery, you've articulated yourself very well, and the information has been very clear and concise as well. So I appreciate that I was able to reach out to you, and you made the time to share your knowledge with us.
Yeah, Joseph,
That's
we would
okay.
definitely love to have you come. I think each, as Isaac had mentioned, each month to give an analysis phase and give people updates. People really are learning a lot, and I think it's good exposure as well for the broader markets that people can learn from you as well.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Just Isaac, just hit me up. Just hit me up. Give me
Yeah,
the time frame like you did this time around.
no problem, no problem.
Yeah,
Well, if I don't get in touch, John will be in touch because he's got details. But we'll get everything sorted out
yeah, yeah. And I think the next person speaking, I guess that's John, right? John.
Yes, it's me. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So what I will do, I'll drop the updates concerning what you were just saying right now on the Wakanda page now. I'll definitely
Yep.
be dropping one or two there. And if there's any token out there you want to look into, just send the name. I'll check it out. I'll check it out
Great.
and tell you
Anybody
what
have
I
other
think or what I think.
questions? Are there any more questions before he wraps up his part? All right. Well, that was a great session, Joseph. Really a masterclass. Really enjoyed it. And I'm sure I see a lot of comments a lot of other people enjoyed it too. So we'll be looking forward to your inputs on it in the upcoming months here and learning more from you and collaborating on it. So thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, I'm going to switch my screen share. I'm going to take us over into
Yeah,
our.
yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I think I should you can just take me out from the host session and become the host. Then once you do that, my screen will not be shared. I
Yeah,
guess you guys are
I'll stop. I'll
recording.
switch to sharing right now.
Okay, so
All
should I
right, give
stop
me one
sharing?
moment. You can stop sharing, yes.
Okay, that's okay.
And I will go ahead and start sharing momentarily. There we go. All right, so we're going to go into the markets update, and then we also are going to be going over tokenization of real world assets. So switching from the mode of trading, we're going to look at a little step out to a broader kind of picture. And so here is our update for the month, and that is not the date, by the way. But at any rate, let's jump in here. All right, so one of the things that we've been seeing is we were just talking about coming in from what Joseph said, the price performance of Bitcoin. I look at it from a mid to long term. I'm a long-term hodler, right? I don't trade day to day, so I don't have the insights on that very short term that Joseph is sharing, which is very insightful for me as well. What we see here is that we had a dip. This was about, where were we? We went under 100K for the first time since the beginning of the year, around October 25th. And since then, it's recovered. We've been over 100. We've been kind of hovering. Usually when I see this pattern from a macro perspective, again, I'm not a trader, so I don't have the technical, knowledge that Joseph does. But when I see this kind of from a macro trend, usually what happens is when we see it hovering in a certain price zone, usually it's either going to break out and take off or it can drop. But often it's getting ready to take off. And one of the reasons that I think it's likely that could happen is because we have so much institutional adoption, right? We have so many organizations, we'll talk about it later, like BlackRock and all these companies. The kind of targets that we're hearing from people who are analysts is people are still expecting as we go toward the year end, we're probably going to get to about 150,000. Now, obviously, there's no guarantees. There is the idea of what we call one scenario, which is a super cycle, which means things go up longer and maybe more consistently for a long time, well through 2026. The other scenario is kind of a regular cycle where it could drop off, which is why you heard me asking about hedging, because we don't know. Nobody really knows. And if anybody tells you they know for sure, nobody really knows, right? But there are a lot of factors we're going to talk about that lead to the potential of that happening. You can see over the 1 year, right? A year ago, we were sitting like at 55,000, right? And now we're well over 100. So we got to put things in perspective. When people are like, "Oh my gosh, it's only 100,000," well, a year ago it was at like half this price, right? And if you look at, I actually have the maximum here, right? So you can kind of see where. Let me see if I can move this out of the way a little bit. So you can actually see that if you go back like 2013, right, we were at like $1,000, 2017, 19,000. Now each year we have our 4-year cycle. So the 4-year cycle, although that may be ending and we may be going into the super cycle because of all the institutions adopting it. But you can see we got to a peak about 126 actually was the peak for this cycle. This is kind of a simple view. And then if you go back, and so we go back 4 years, that'd be 2021, we were about 68,000, right? So we added a zero since then. And previous to that, we were around 19,000 in the previous cycle. And the previous cycle high before that was like $1,000. So you can see the overall trend of what's happening here. So if you look at the macro, the larger trend, a lot of people are expecting $1 million Bitcoin in the range of 2030 or before that. So there's a good chance of that. That doesn't mean we're not going to see a lot of volatility because that does happen, although the market may be smoothing because we have a lot of big institutions coming in now. All right, let me pop to the next one. So what's happening in the African regulatory, right? This is pretty big news. I'd like to believe that we're part of this. We've had 10 nations now in Africa that are actually regulating digital assets, Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies. We are hoping and praying it's positive and good regulation. We got Ghana, who is putting in a robust framework. South Africa is adopting and putting theirs in place as well. 650,000 stores across, apparently, accept crypto payments nationwide now. And across the continent, you got Mauritius, Botswana, Nigeria, and 7 other nations that are all starting to put in place frameworks for digital assets. And I'm sure a lot of that momentum is from the US because the US started a digital asset regulation earlier this year, gave regulatory clarity. So a lot of people are very excited, a lot of energy. And as it says here, the wave positions Africa as the third fastest growing crypto adoption region globally. And actually by transactions, Africa had the most transactions, I think in the last quarter, last period, of any region in the world. So there is a lot happening, and this is really a big deal for Africa because, as you know, if you're in Europe or you're even in a lot of regions of Asia, or you're in North America, you can use, PayPal, you can use a Visa card, you can do investments in the stock market. But if you're in Africa, you don't have all those options. So it's really a big deal now that we're getting a lot more people who are actually starting to use digital assets, use Bitcoin, use cryptocurrencies. So this is really good news. And again, I'd like to think that we played some part in it, right? So as we said, 10 nations are now proceeding with the regulation, and we'll probably see a lot more African nations taking this up as well. The largest tokenized economy launches, right? So 5.5 billion in real world assets. This is, I'm going to talk about a little bit later. Things like gold and silver and crops and real estate and land. All these can be tokenized on the blockchain. And by doing that, what this is doing, Joseph was talking about liquidity, it's bringing in the possibility of a lot of liquidity, which is money coming into the market for regular people, whether in Africa, diaspora, African American, wherever you might be throughout the Caribbean. A lot of that, and believe me, I've been an entrepreneur for a good part of my career. It's hard getting your hands on the liquidity, especially when you're operating, in Africa, African diaspora context. So when you start seeing that money pouring in, and it's pouring into these tokenized on-chain assets, there's a big opportunity for, we were talking, for instance, like Botswana is doing like a commodities exchange, where they're going to be using, the tokenization. We got a lot of other ones who are using the US dollar stable coin, and they're able to, use that for the transactions on their different real world assets. So there's a lot of opportunity for liquidity, which is money flowing in to the continent and to diaspora. Right. So 1 million jobs created. We were talking with Ethiopia earlier in the year, a couple of meetups ago, about their Renaissance Dam and all the blockchain projects they're working on. 10 billion of export value. There's been anticipated trade growth from all of this new tokenization activity in Africa and in diaspora. So diaspora gains formal voice in the EU. And what's happened here is that the diaspora has been recognized as the official sixth region in the African Union. And what this means is that the diaspora will then have a say in how Africa and the African Union craft the digital asset regulation, cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin adoption throughout the continent. I'm sure there'll be CBDCs too, although I'm not a great fan of those. But the idea here is that everybody will have a voice in what is happening in Africa and beyond, which is a really good thing. If anybody's familiar with the way that kind of China, really rose to such a great position, one of the first things they did is they really engaged their diaspora over the last 30, 40 years, I would say probably. And because I know when I was growing up, they really weren't in this prominent position, but they engaged their diaspora and they brought a lot of technology and a lot of that knowledge. Same thing in India. And obviously now they're in a really strong position in the world. And Africa is starting to do this, especially by incorporating the sixth region and having African diaspora as a voice in the African Union. So I think this is very good news. All right, and we talked about the sixth region there, right? So it gives us the opportunity to facilitate adoption for crypto across the continent and digital assets, bringing critical fintech expertise, a lot of knowledge in the diaspora that can be connected back on the continent as well, fostering connections between Africa blockchain projects and international markets, and helping to, find things that, funding and collaborations, providing a deep understanding for crypto markets and regulatory frameworks, which is a lot of good knowledge of that for those of us who might be residing in Europe or the Americas or, even Asia, Singapore, Hong Kong, other locations, and catalyzing Africa's digital transformation, right? So leading the continent to lead. And there's a good chance for Africa to lead in this space because we don't really have a lot of the legacy of, a lot of the financial systems from the previous, banking. Those really don't exist in a lot of Africa, and they're really not in place. So a lot of the areas and markets in Africa can go directly to kind of finance 2.0, which is, blockchain, digital assets, Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, and we can really lead the way in helping with that. So everybody's voice is very valuable. Back in the US, right, where I'm at the moment, the government crypto policy, right, they've got regulatory clarity, which is a big deal. So you will see all the companies in the US, whether it be Wall Street, although I think New York's going to have some changes, whether it be Miami, whether it be, Silicon Valley, you're going to see everybody is now making a lot of moves. We had a couple of meetups ago. I'm going to have the gentleman join us again. Was talking about what was happening in Silicon Valley, for example. So regulatory clarity, lots of energy, lots of excitement. The legislative process is moving forward. There are restrictions on CBDCs, which I think is a good thing, honestly, because CBDCs, for those who don't know what they are, is a central bank digital currency. That's what China has, for example. Nigeria tried to have it, but nobody really used it. But it's a completely centrally government controlled. And I think from an African diaspora perspective, that's something we really don't want, because we want something that's completely open and free, like Bitcoin, so we can transact and we don't really have, a bunch of governments saying, oh, no, you can't use it, you can't use it. Bitcoin, anybody can access it. Stable coins are pretty open as well, even though not as open as Bitcoin, but that to me is much more positive for African diaspora. And then enhanced cooperation with the African and international regulators to harmonize standards, right? So there's a lot more collaboration, a lot more communication going on, including a lot of what goes on in our meetups, a lot of other groups that are out there that are now collaborating to put, things in place. And of course, the US wants to move forward the stable coins, because that is something that's beneficial for the dollar as well. Institutional adoption in the US. So month in review, we got 1.5 billion plus in Bitcoin ETF inflows. So these don't know the ETFs or exchange traded funds. These you can buy them through your regular stock market account, right? So some people like to trade, some people like to buy on an exchange and buy physical Bitcoin, as we call it. But some people like to have it in their stock or their retirement account, or they only have the option of having it in their stock account. Maybe they only have funds there. So you can buy the ETFs. BlackRock has ETF, the IBIT, Fidelity has theirs. You can buy MicroStrategy, most stocks they have, right? And you can actually enjoy the performance of the Bitcoin market and the cryptocurrency market by also purchasing this in your stock and traditional IRA accounts. And this is in the US. You can also do it in other countries. Canada has it, Australia has it, Hong Kong. There's quite a lot of markets, Europe as well, that do have this now. 50 plus new institutional clients, right? So we have companies, like we said, BlackRock, Fidelity, MicroStrategy, MetaPlanet Japan, all of these companies which are coming on. This is why I said that I don't know that this is going to be a regular cycle. Going back to the point with Joseph, if you're on there, because there's so much institutional money that's quietly coming in behind the scenes. And there's even more that we don't know about, because we have what's called over the counter. Does anybody know what over the counter is? Anybody know what over the counter is all about? Anybody ever heard of that before?
No.
Yes.
No.
Over the counter, basically, if you're a very wealthy individual, let's say you're not, so maybe you and I are buying like a few hundred or a few $1,000s of Bitcoin, something like that, or, tens of dollars, whatever it might be. If you're a very wealthy individual, let's say you want, $10 million of Bitcoin, you want 20 million. You don't go to the exchange, you don't go to Binance, you don't go to Coinbase, you go to like a broker, and that broker says, let me go find a deal to get you the Bitcoin that you want, right? So that those deals are actually not reflected usually in the price, because most of us don't know that those deals are taking place, right? So this is the way that the wealthy are buying Bitcoin, and it's not reflected in the price, because you're not going to see it on the exchange. You're not going to see it, on Coinbase. You're not going to see it on Binance. You're not going to see it in those numbers. So what happens is, this is called over the counter. And I know this, especially from Singapore, we had a lot of wealthy individuals who were doing this. Over the counter is the way a lot of these big transactions are taking place. So you have a lot of people who are acquiring Bitcoin and other digital assets, Ethereum, et cetera. But it's very quiet. Everybody doesn't actually know that it's happening, right? So that is a big deal, because it means that there's a lot less Bitcoin available for people than you may really think is true. And that's what's going to really push the price up when people go, surprise, it's all been, bought, and a lot of these folks already have it, okay? And then 25% trading volume increase. And this is back to what Joseph was talking about, right? So lots of trading volume and OTC desks, as we said, the over-the-counter desks that I talked about. A lot of liquidity is being brought in because of these big players. Now, the thing is, like I said, for regular, what should be retail, most of us would be considered retail, regular investors, not institutional investors, or, the high net worth group that's doing that, like several $1 million in a transaction. Then for us, we may not necessarily see all of those transactions, and a lot of that liquidity is going to be in those back office deals that are done, as over the counter. Okay. Any questions about that? This is why this cycle may be very different, because with all this money flowing into the market, even quietly, it means that, in previous cycles, 4-year cycles, we didn't have this much money, at least that we were aware of, actually flowing into the markets. All right. Let's go to Asia. All right. Spent a lot of time in Asia myself. So China's infrastructure, right? They're expanding blockchain infrastructure and crypto. And so they're still doing stuff in the background. They have a crypto trading ban in China, even though Hong Kong does allow, they have exchanges in Hong Kong. That's like the market-facing part for China. They're focusing on CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, because they like to have that kind of government control over their, over the access to digital assets, right? So most people in mainland China, that's the way they would access it, although they are allowed to hold Bitcoin, I believe, and some digital assets. There's certain rules around it, but Hong Kong is fairly open for full exchange and trading of digital assets. Then Singapore and South Korea are leading in regulatory clarity. So Singapore always has very good regulatory frameworks. They're attracting a lot of digital asset and crypto companies there, and fostering vibrant crypto ecosystems and institutional adoption. I would also say in Dubai, which is out of Asia, but Dubai has actually got a lot of companies that come in for digital assets and Bitcoin and crypto as well. Especially a lot of people coming from the UK, I think it seems. I guess because they're, lower taxes and everything like that. India's development, government advancing crypto tax policies and regulatory sandbox. So they've been working out their policies for a long time, but I think that they do have some tax, frameworks in place. If India finally gets kind of like everything together for their, their approach on digital assets, I mean, that's like 1.5 billion people. That's going to be a huge addition into the markets. So we'll see what India does. Okay, Asia is a critical driver of innovation and cross-border digital asset flows worldwide, and that's going to continue along with the US, of course. All right, so Wakanda, our Wakanda group, African diaspora role in bridging continents. So we really are kind of, bridging a lot, especially for, Africa, because we really want to be at the forefront of this. We don't want to be left out of it. Investment attraction, so leveraging Africa's regulatory momentum. We got 10 countries and more coming in who are now joining into that, right? And if you are not speaking, if you can just mute, oh no, and if you can find which open mic we have, you can mute that one. The global hub vision, right? Positioning Africa as a center for inclusive real world blockchain, because it's a brand new, it's a brand new market, right? Which means that everybody has the opportunity now to be a part of it. So it's a great hub where everybody's going to be able to hopefully connect, and Africa can actually play a leading role in this. Interoperable platforms, like I said, Africa has the most transactions in like the last quarter on Bitcoin, and that's pretty impressive. Interoperable platforms, building connections between Africa and digital assets, the US and Asian economies. Everybody is interested in being involved in what's happening in Africa already. So it's a very good opportunity for Africa and for global Africa to benefit from that. And then developer empowerment, right? Local entrepreneurs. I've been trying to fund and do that for a long time for local entrepreneurs. I'll talk about what I'm doing in the tokenization we're going to talk about next. Education, partnerships, and infrastructure, right? With this now, you can actually fund somebody who's working in Ghana or South Africa or Zimbabwe or Kenya or Rwanda or wherever they are across, or Gambia, across the continent. You can send them stable coins or Bitcoin or whatever it is. And that's an opportunity they didn't have in the past to fund businesses, to start, projects and develop things. So very big opportunities for us there. Okay, so there are a few QR codes here. Obviously, we want to all be part of this because, as I always say, as African diaspora, Friends of Africa, Children of Africa, this is really our moment to be able to shine, to benefit from this. So you can always join the meetup group. Most of you already have this, but you can use that QR code to join the meetup on meetup.com. Okay, if you aren't already there, do join that. And then we have a couple of other connection points for you. All right, so we have on Patreon. This is where we have people who support. We're also doing a referral program, which we're kind of revamping. So if you are interested in joining on Patreon and supporting, it's our monthly supporters to expand the meetup. to support local groups like you guys have in Gambia, we have in Ghana, we have across the continent, Ethiopia. We want to be able to South Africa. We want to be able to support those local groups, and we do that by having the regular support in our Patreon group. So you can use this to scan and join in Patreon, and also look out for the referral program. And there's also some affiliate links here. I'll send the presentation out here later, most likely via Patreon. And so if you wanted, there's sign-up bonuses and such for different exchanges like Binance, and these all support our meetups and our mission of expanding for global Africa access to finance and digital assets. And also join us on the Telegram group. If you don't have that, we have daily discussion. I think, Joseph, you're going to be dropping some stuff and information into the Telegram group, so that'd be great for everybody to be able to check it out. And we have daily discussion just like you would have on WhatsApp groups. The reason we chose Telegram, by the way, it was much more free and open for crypto discussion. Early on, WhatsApp wasn't really that open for it. So, and that, there were more restrictions. So it's much easier for us to use Telegram. So we've been using that. I think we're approaching about 300 people in the Telegram group on Telegram. Okay, so any questions before I go to our next segment? Any questions here before I go on to talk about the tokenization of real world assets?
Oh, hi, John.
Hi.
I
Yeah,
promise
I
speaking.
promise.
Hi. It's not really a question for us. It's I'm totally new to this, and I was wondering whether this is like whether you normally have a 101 beginners session in a different way, or whether that is just a matter of me joining some and just learning as we go.
Yeah, so there's a couple of options for that. There are recordings of our previous sessions that you can watch. If you want to do kind of a 101 or you'd like to get caught up, I do like individual catch-ups. I can give you a Calendly. I'll find my link here. And you can I can do a quick, I do like a free 15-minute session, or I do, pay consults to let people learn more about, digital assets, etc. So I can share that link with you, promise. If you're on our Telegram or our Meetup, I can send you that as well, to help you to get started. And you might be focused on long-term investing or trading or funding a business. So you'll need to we can talk about which area you're interested in, and then we can base it on that as to plugging in and where it's best to connect.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
All right, great. Other questions or comments? Good. Okay, I'm going to go over to the tokenization now. So we're going to talk about the tokenization of real-world assets. I've been working on starting a business in this area for several years, actually. I think this is kind of like the third leg to what basically is going to make Africa fully financially included and global Africa fully financially included. So the first leg of that is the Bitcoin. It's big, it's open for everybody. There's a big potential for increase in value we talked about. The second part is going to be stable coins. So that's like the US dollar stable coin and other stable coins, because it means that I can pay you easily. Oh, a question? Is there a question? Was that a question?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
All right. So the first leg, as I said, is a Bitcoin. The second leg is stable coins, right? Which it means I can, pay, somebody who's, in South Africa, Zimbabwe, Ghana, whatever it is, and I can easily send that. And that is really new because, just now I'm getting ready to speak at a conference later this month on, youth and AI in Ghana, and I was trying to, do the credit card payment. It doesn't work. Usually it never works. And I'm trying to do something for Africa, but I can easily send, a stable coin, no problem, right? So it makes it very easy for us to do business together and to collaborate together where we couldn't do it easily before. And the third leg is what I'm going to share with you now, which is the African real world assets, right? African real world assets are going to actually be the thing that's going to allow people. We've got lots of land and minerals and gold and, crops and land, farmland and real estate land, but it's very hard to get liquidity, to get money into that, right? Or get money out of that as well. And so that's where this part comes in, which is the Africa real world assets piece. Okay. So Tokenizable real world assets. You have gold and silver, right? So you can tokenize those. I remember in Singapore, we have the, where they have like vaults and they actually have them all on the Ethereum blockchain. And you can purchase a small piece of gold, on the blockchain. You can also just buy it on exchange. There's like a gold, tokenized gold as well that you can buy. And that, immediately gives you access. You can actually go into the vault and see your little piece of the gold, right? And then you have commodities like oil, different things like minerals and, bauxite and rare earths and things like that, right? That can be tokenized. You have land. And one of the stories about this was I was talking to somebody a few years ago in Zambia, and they had actually had a mine, like they wanted to set up a mine because they had a lot of minerals on their land. But the problem was they couldn't get any money to do it. They need to do a site survey, they need to get started. And it was very hard for us to get anything set up for them. Tokenization would allow us to then say, okay, let's tokenize that stuff that's in the ground, those minerals, and then we'll be able to buy tokens, and that will give you the funding you need to start your mining, do your site survey, etc. You have land, right? Lots of land across Africa. Again, there's a lot of people who are very land rich. They've got land, but they've got no way to make it into actually any money in their pocket, right? So tokenization is going to help with that. Real estate as well. And this can be done also in the Caribbean, can be done in the US, can be done in Europe, can be done in Asia, can be done anywhere. Okay? Real estate, right? So you have a lot of properties that are quite valuable, right? Might be something in South Africa, Cape Town, Johannesburg, could be something in Nairobi, it could be something, elsewhere in Accra, right? And each of those places, you could actually tokenize real estate and then be able to purchase a fraction or a piece of it. One of the big risks, especially for those in diaspora, we want to invest often in Africa, but what happens is when we try to invest, like, okay, well, put in, 200,000 into this project, but as many of you know, that's very risky. If you put all of your money into one project and there's instability or something happens or the government changes its position, you're in trouble. But if you can say, you know what, let me just buy a fractional piece of real estate, like $200 worth or $2,000 worth, instead of having that huge risk, now you can really mitigate that risk and only purchase a very small piece of it. You still are able to invest in the real estate, but you're reducing the risk a lot. And that's really a benefit of tokenization. And I think really good for me and for a lot of us in diaspora as well. Businesses, right? So we can also tokenize businesses and equity, and we'll talk about that a little more as well. So you can invest in that way into building businesses and things along those lines. Collectibles and other things can also be tokenized. We may have less of those across the continent, but there probably are some. But again, in North America, a place like that, you're going to find a lot of things like that, collectibles, things being tokenized. Intellectual property is something else that can also be tokenized. So things like patents and trademarks and copyrights, trade secrets, license rights, all these can be tokenized and purchased and put onto blockchains and sold, purchased, bought, etc., and traded on blockchains as well. So this is another area that we can go where we can actually be able to utilize tokenization, right? It takes basically intangible assets, turns them into liquid tradable investments. And then we also have things like agriculture, crops, right? So coffee beans. Anybody who was with us last month, we had B&U with Olinga, great session. And that was really all about coffee. And they had in Kenya how they were actually like tokenizing the coffee crop and being able to purchase and fund it based on that so that people got a much better wage instead of like bare minimum, right? Things like cocoa and vanilla and saffron and different specialty grains. And all these can be tokenized as well. I've been looking at some agricultural projects. I know quite a few people in our group also do agriculture, and this is a way that we can use tokenization to support that. And that's obviously very big across Africa and a big opportunity. And then expanding tokenized frontier, we also have stable coins. So a stable coin is actually tokenizing basically the, either the US dollar, or it could be the euro or the yen or other currencies as well, right? Ruble, whatever it is. What you're doing is you're basically tokenizing those currencies and making them digital. But that means I can send it to anybody anytime, which is great, especially for Africa and diaspora, right? Public equities, fractional ownership. So you can also get, ownership in Tesla stock or in, whatever stock that it is you're purchasing, NVIDIA. Any of those things can be purchased, right, from tokenization. So we have like on Binance now, I think you can get a lot of tokenized stocks. I think Coinbase has started to do it as well. Kraken, some of the exchanges. We'll leave the links for those affiliate links for the different exchanges. But this is a way that in the past, if you were, sitting in Lagos, or you were sitting in another location, you didn't really have access to purchase any of these equities a lot of times. but now you may have the opportunity to do that with tokenized equities, tokenized stocks. So that is a great opportunity as well. And then attention and engagement, that is things like basically, for instance, I use Odyssey, which is similar to YouTube. It's a social media, YouTube video streaming, or Odyssey, and they have a token called Basic Attention Token, BAT, so you can actually tokenize attention, right? So you get more of those tokens awarded to you the more things you post. I think Facebook actually started to try to do something like that. They may do it again. So the more you have like a social, posts or videos or whatever, you actually get tokenization of people's attention, and they get value through that, which could be very valuable for young creators and influencers across the African continent and diaspora. Okay? So the transformative power of tokenization, right? As we said, enhanced liquidity. If you are sitting somewhere in Africa, you're sitting somewhere, even in many African American communities, we have what's called redlining, things like that, where you don't necessarily get all the same access for loans and things that you might in a different community. This gives you a lot more access to liquidity now. So that's a great thing. Global accessibility, it can be accessed basically from anywhere in the world. I'm sure there are a few geo blocks like, sanctioned things or whatever, but generally speaking, anybody can access this. Okay? Unprecedented transparency, meaning that everything is on the blockchain ledger, so you can see everything. And I think that's great because obviously one of the things a lot of people are really concerned about is corruption. Like, oh, corruption, where'd the money go? What happened to the money? Well, now if somebody takes the money and they go to like take a trip overseas and take their family or their girlfriend or whatever it is, we're going to see that the blockchain is going to show where the wallets went, where the funds went, and there's really no hiding it. So that makes things a lot more honest. They say one of the best way to sanitize things is sunshine. So you're going to get the sunshine of completely transparent blockchains, and we can all see what's going on. Reduce cost and friction, which means that now we are able to send things. It's really cheap. I mean, you can send things on a blockchain, a smart contract. I can send funds for like a penny, a few pennies, right? Very cheap, depending on the one. Like Tron is super cheap. Bitcoin's still not that expensive. You can send whatever you want. And this tokenization then is going to use those very low blockchain transaction fees to send money instead of using like MoneyGram or Western Union, where they take like 20% of your money or 25% of your money. It's like pennies. Okay. And then democratize ownership, which is the idea that we can have lots of people working together to own it. So let's say we all say we want to own some property in Kenya. We can all break it up and go, okay, well, you know what, we're all going to invest, whatever, 1,000, and then we all going to get, whatever, 1% of the tokens. And now we are able to purchase this property that's worth like $100,000. But we all kind of vote based on the number of tokens that we hold and the ownership of it in terms of getting rent, in terms of how we utilize the property and maintain it, et cetera. So democratized ownership is a great aspect as well for us with tokenization. I do have a video I created on this, and there'll be a link in there. Yeah, I did this like 6 years ago actually, but it's still pretty current. You guys can check that out when I share this on our Patreon. So you can take a look at that on the YouTube channel. Okay. All right. Any questions before I go on? Does that make sense in terms of what tokenization is about so far?
Yeah, I'm really keen into some of the things you're saying.
Yeah,
Yes, it's all making sense. Thank you.
Very good. So let's go on. This is something I've been working on for like the last 5 to 7 years, really, is trying to get kind of this, financial inclusion, Africa tokenization. So I'm going to share with you a little bit of what I've been doing and I've been working on. My company, Auspicious Blockchain, I think the logo is behind me there. So the vision is unlocking Africa's prosperity, enabling global diaspora investors to directly own and profit from high potential real world assets, right? What we just talked about. And then the mission is to democratize access so that everybody can access underutilized assets, and people who are on the ground in Africa are actually able to use their land, the minerals, the things that they have around them, and use blockchain to get liquidity and to get the communities supported as well. So, right, creating transparent investment channels, fostering sustainable economic development, and bridging global capital with local opportunities across Africa and the diaspora. And it's been evolving because over time the technology has been, improving, and things have been, we're getting better regulations, so we're getting better ideas. The problem that we're solving is there is a trust deficit. Obviously, if somebody says, hey, I've got a great piece of land for you in DRC, or, I've got a great piece of land for you here, and I go, you're maybe a little concerned. You're like, I don't really know, is the land there? Is it regulated properly? Tokenization starts to make this a little more transparent for us so that maybe it becomes and also a little less risky, right? So I don't have to put everything in by myself. Access limitations. Traditional real estate investing, right, excludes diaspora small investors through high minimum investment. So often it's like, okay, if you want to get into this project, it's $2 million. Well, I can tell you that most, not all, but most of the diaspora do not necessarily have $2 million just to throw down on one investment, right? So these fractional ownership shares mean the wealth creation is accessible now to everybody instead of only a few people who can do really big deals. And obviously you can build more wealth that way. We all can. And then currency and capital controls, right? So cross-border financial frictions significantly reduce our liquidity and our investor confidence. And now we're actually able to go across, currencies, across, different exchanges. We can move through very easily, where before everything was like very hard to get through the banks and very hard to get through, the different, systems, Swift network. Now it's going to be very open. And we're not stuck using volatile local currencies. So I can use a dollar or I can use a more stable currency instead for my transactions. And again, tokenization is allowing me to do this, and allowing all of us to do this. Right, so what we've been working on, integrated solution, right? Tokenized ownership of land, real estate, agricultural assets. Still working on this, still working with multiple partners and looking to get, different investors that we're going to have. So obviously, if people are interested in this, happy to talk to them, happy to have discussions with them. We are building the platform out. Probably going to take the next couple of years to get the platform in place. Fractional investment, which is the idea, like we said, that we can all have small pieces, like starting at $100, instead of everybody having to say, I'm going to put $100,000. I'm putting $1 million, which is super risky, especially if you don't know what's going to happen, with the local government in the African country, if you don't know what's going to happen with regulations. So this really reduces everybody's risk. And then diaspora voting, which means, okay, let's say that all of us, whatever it is, 10, 15 of us on the call, we all have, a hold of a token. Then you say, okay, we all get a vote in how the property and the, tokenized asset gets managed based on our token holding. We have payment platform, right, which will allow us to then, send the payments back and forth, which really generally is just based on the blockchain rails, we call it. And we have African equity platform that we're looking at, which will basically allow us to be able to also access different equity and things like that for the different projects. And a DAO is what we call a decentralized autonomous organization. And that is basically, instead of it being kind of managed like in, the US or here or there, it really, the whole thing is like native to the blockchain, and it's its own self-managed. And AI is actually going to play into this a lot as well. So it's actually going to be self-managed. It's going to be managing kind of itself based on smart contracts, based on, AI management of that DAO, which is an entity that can invest in different projects and things along those lines. So that is coming up. Right, the ecosystem, right? We have onboarding in some countries. If you're like in Europe or the US, we'll have to do KYC AML, which is, where we verify know your customer. In some locations, that's not such a big deal, like South Africa, Kenya, et cetera. We don't really have very strong restrictions on that right now that I'm aware of. It might change with some regulation, but right now, pretty open. Purchasing the tokens, right? So you purchase a token through the secure fiat or crypto gateways. You get the tokens. You track the performance of we have investor dashboards. You're able to then look at and see how the different, real estate, land, whatever it is, those are investments are doing with tokens. And the profit, smart contract enabled revenue sharing and potential asset appreciation, right? Then what we have is basically you're going to see, okay, now I can just take some tokens out. I put in 100, but we got some returns from our coffee, from our mineral mining, from our gold, from our land, our real estate, our rent. So, I want to take some tokens out. So you take the tokens out and maybe you put in 100 tokens, but maybe those tokens are now worth 1,000, right? So that's the idea behind how that tokenization works. And of course, the person on the ground in Africa, diaspora, wherever they are, they're getting the money so they can do their project. They can start the business. They can do the mining. They can run, their farmland, whatever it might be. Okay. And USD stablecoin pegged is usually kind of the best for us because it still holds a reserve currency status in the world, which makes it fairly stable for us for transactions. So we did do some pilots, which were not fully tokenized. This is just kind of showing some of what we did in terms of user retention, transactions, and pilots. But we have a lot more to do because we're going to upgrade technology on how this gets implemented. All right, so the target markets we're looking at, we'll probably look at Ghana, Kenya, Rwanda, and you can see some of the different areas, like we said, land, real estate, agriculture, and then also in a second phase, Nigeria, South Africa, Zimbabwe, Mauritius, and different tokenizations there that we're looking at, right? So things like urban housing, agricultural land, renewable energy, commercial real estate. If you know of projects that you think would be interested or benefit from this, please, reach out and let me know. You can reach out to the Telegram group or through MeetUp or any of our other platforms that we use. So things like gold, minerals, precious metals. There is a lot of gold tokenization out there already, actually. And the strategic investments and things like that are all going to be basically through using these sectors in these different markets across Africa. The market size, and this is really just a broad estimate, it's about $1.5 trillion for Africa, land and property, about 50 billion plus of annual remittances that flow into Africa from different markets and diaspora, and about 44% of crypto adoption, so annual growth rate of cryptocurrency adoption across Africa. It's growing really fast in Africa. Obviously, this is a really big deal, especially in Africa, because a lot of people just have not had access to these financial tools at all. So this is great all across the African continent. Right? And then the real world asset token utility. So there's actually a token that would be used, right, on this blockchain. And basically it gives access to the platform, so you can use it for that. The future use of the decentralized autonomous organization we talked about for staking and getting yield and returns. For governance, you're voting. Like we said, it's democratized, so you get voting. And then also tiered access, higher holdings get more participation and exclusive high value investment rounds as well. So you can think of kind of like a Binance coin. If you guys have seen that before, where it gives you access to certain trading, investment, different things like that. It's a utility token. So that's the kind of token we're going to have for the real world assets, for African real world assets on the platform. And then technology compliance, obviously we got to make sure that everything is legally compliant, especially with all the regulations coming up, depending on the market, whether US, UK, whether it's going to be, some new regulations in the African market. So we need to make sure those are compliant. We have the technical architecture, which is smart contracts. And this is the blockchain. I won't go into much detail, military grade encryption, because we need quantum computing is coming. We need to make sure everything is secure, the wallets and everything else, multi-signature wallets and decentralized Oracle. And Oracle is basically something that connects so that it actually knows, okay, this connects our blockchain to how much crops are really being developed in the real world, or how many diamonds are there, how much gold is there, and that those oracles connect us to the real world from the tokenized blockchains. And then local operations, establish operating, like Chainlink is actually a blockchain that has a lot of it. All right. So establish operating entities in target countries, local legal teams for asset verification. We need to have people on the ground in different countries, which should also create employment also in different markets where we're working. Partnerships with land registries and regulatory bodies and on-ground teams for physical asset, because we need someone to actually go and say, do we actually have that land in Kumasi or in whatever region in Accra? We need to have people on the ground doing that. So those are the local operations as well. And then go to market. So diaspora channels, right? We want to go out through our communities that we have in Telegram and church networks and alumni associations and trade groups. We do partnerships with different groups that are out there as well, and making sure that, we're kind of communicating this to people and letting them know about the opportunity in webinars, community ambassador programs, diaspora investment incentives, Pan-African partnerships. And these are going to be across, diaspora, property developers, agricultural cooperatives, financial institutions. And then we have things like asset verification, making sure that local regulatory engagement is in place, make sure we have integration with the financial systems. So you need what we call off-ramps, fiat off-ramp. So let's say I want to bring money into a bank in Ghana or a bank in the US or whatever. That would be, we have integration with the existing financial system or with US stock market, whatever it is. And then education and trust building. So we want to make sure, like we're doing it here in the Wakanda Blockchain meetups, we're building education so people understand, because there's a lot of opportunity, but unfortunately, there's a lot of scams out there in the market as well. So we want people to understand financial literacy, transparent reporting, dashboards, and community feedback, so people understand what it is, that we're doing with tokens and how they can use them to benefit and to prosper for them and their families, and for global Africa's future. All right, the roadmap is basically 2025. We're kind of structuring the legal entities and setup, which we're doing now. In 2026, we want to do the pilots, hopefully probably Ghana, Kenya are likely pilots for where we will first start launching these tokens and getting those in place. And then DeFi integration in Africa-wide, expanding in 2027 across the continent, making it available in Nigeria, South Africa, Zimbabwe, more markets where people will be able to tokenize and be able to bring in investments and assets all the way throughout the entire continent, throughout the entire diaspora. So that is kind of what we are looking at, what we are working on, and that is what we're doing on the tokenization side. So if you guys have any questions about it, I'm happy to answer those. Obviously, it's an ambitious undertaking. It's going to need a lot of collaboration and a lot of people joining in, a lot of partners to help us to get this to work. But that is what we're working on now. So any questions about tokenization of real world assets or anything else that I covered or that we covered today? Just a lot of information. Does everybody have like they have an understanding of what a real world asset tokenization is and why it's important for us? Yes, Promise, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, John. Wow, it sounds really out of this world, to be honest. Thinking about assets in Africa, for example, some African countries that are oil producing, for example. Ghana is one of those. I mean, you talk about the face of those African countries that you're looking at to start the tokenization of the asset. Yeah, I mean, that's isn't that going to be a huge work? Massive amount of work to be done. For that's one side of the story, but I'm just wondering what my contribution could be, what I could contribute in terms of helping the team, as it were. Yeah, that's what I would like to have a better understanding how my little contribution or massive contribution can help add value.
Yeah, so Pross, a great question. I think we all have, something we're going to be able to contribute. I mean, some of us are, in Western countries or even Asian countries and have access to capital that can be brought into projects and, can support the projects. Some of us can support the education that we're doing because we need people to understand the opportunity for tokenization. So it might support the Wakanda meetups and things like that that we're doing. Others may have actual access to projects. I know, Eddie, you do a lot of stuff on the continent. So there's a lot of things that there's like real estate projects, land projects you're aware of, and we might be able to connect those where those are going to be able to help. We are, of course, also funding the business itself and doing a lot of seed round funding right now. So people know, people, investors, things like that who are interested in this area would be great for us to connect with. And like I said, Promise, we can definitely, I'll give my calendar link for folks, but we can definitely have like a one-on-one to talk about, what you're interested in, where your strengths are, where you can contribute, because whether small or great, just look at China's model, what they did, right? They had all their diaspora, and they contributed to basically China becoming a world, leading power that they are now. And I believe that Africa and Africans can do the same thing, and diaspora can do the same thing by us also connecting, by us also, each person, playing their part, each person teaching other people, each one teach one. So I think there's a lot of opportunities, and Promise I'll reach out for you so that we can go ahead and discuss after this. I think you're on the Meetup platform. Also, if you're on Telegram, you can reach out to me there. But each person, I'm sure, will be able to bring unique aspects to build the greater vision. Does that answer your question?
Yes, absolutely. Brilliant. Thank you.
Okay. Other questions or comments or thoughts or any confusions, anything else about what tokenization is all about and how this really makes a huge difference for all of us in African diaspora and global Africa?
Yeah, so I just wanted to ask something with regards to what you're saying. I've also been looking into the whole token thing
Mhm.
lately because I've seen a lot of potential in it. Generally, with how I trade, it's more of an instant aspect of the market, like in terms of value and profiting. But I've seen that lately, new projects that are coming in with tokens are also doing like things that, I mean, if only you can spot them, you don't need to do too much work like we do. Because, for example, when I look at it from that perspective, as in like the work input that needs to be done, I feel like if you're able to identify a token and its potential or create or find yourself around a development that is within a token that has potentials with regards to the utilities it provides, the ecosystem it has around it. I believe there's so much benefits and profit one can get out of it. I just wanted to know, outside of the project you have as is Wakanda, outside the project you have as a community, I think what you guys are more centered on is the if I stand to be corrected, I want to understand better generally, is that you guys are working towards identifying tokens that you can bring to the picture that will not just be a token out there, but a token that would help develop the African economy and for Africans in the diaspora generally, if I'm not mistaken, right?
That's exactly right, Joseph. So what we're doing is there's a lot of tokens. I mean, we're going to have a lot of partnerships, a lot of different tokens and projects that are
Yes.
going to contribute in different countries to different ecosystems, to different projects. And we want to be able to contribute to those. So Wakanda, the blockchain meetup, is really our not-for-profit. It's more about education, right? So this is really the education piece of it. The company
Okay.
Auspicious
Okay.
Auspicious Blockchain is the company that's a for-profit company, right? So Wakanda is really not for profit. It's really all about the education because education is such a big part of this for us, right? But
Yes.
the
Yes.
um, the company, the for-profit company is Auspicious, and Auspicious Blockchain is the one that then is working on the partnerships, working on the fundraising for developing the platform and finding partners throughout Africa and Western markets and Asia to be able to bring this vision into life. So there's two pieces: there's a nonprofit education, and there's a for-profit company. But yes, you're right. We want to find the partners that are going to help us. There are some things that are already built, and then we can actually invest in those and utilize those. And there's other things we're going to have to build ourselves. So yeah.
Okay, that's fine. I just wanted to understand it from that perspective.
Yep, absolutely. Great question. Other questions, comments, thoughts? Hopefully it makes sense. This is a great opportunity for all of us to, you know, be financially included. And that doesn't matter whether you're African American in the US or whether you're living in the Caribbean or you're living in, on the continent or in Europe. This is really opening doors that we've never had open to us before. And it goes beyond just whether the price has gone up or down for the day. It really is, that we're opening, these tokens are opening financial access all throughout the world and especially, throughout Africa. Okay. Any other questions on this or any other topic before we close it out for the day? Very good. Well, thank you everyone so much for joining us, taking time out of your busy Saturday. I know that everybody has a lot of different things going on. Jacqueline, if you're on, I'm not sure you're on, we can just catch up at the end here. I'll just stop the recording. And then everybody, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the Telegram group. I think I shared that in the chat. Obviously on meetup.com and on Patreon. And please feel free to reach out to myself, reach out to Edna as well. And we are happy to host, and Isaac should be there as well. And we are looking forward to Joseph, great masterclass in trading and analysis, and we'll look forward to more comments on that in the Telegram group. Everyone have a great rest of your weekend. And Jacqueline, if you are still here, I'm not sure if you're still here. If you want to stay on, we can just chat here. Is she still there? I don't see her. Okay, so great. Thanks, everyone. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up for the day, and you guys have a great rest of your weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, Kevin, I see you there, actually. Hopefully you're not sure if you're up for a session coming up next month. You're on mute there. Stop.